All right. Looks good. We had a issue with YouTube today. I was trying to set up the stream and it told me that I was unable to update the custom thumbnail because I'd been updating the thumbnail too often. And I just got here. I didn't do anything today. I don't touch YouTube unless I'm updating a video, and I wasn't uploading a video, and it gave me this warning, so I had to cancel out and upload it, cancel out, upload it. Finally got it working. I hope the thumbnail worked for you. It should be pictures of skates, not liners. The liners that were up there were the RL1, so technically it is Roces related, but that wasn't the problem. No audio problem. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for checking in. Sounds like everything is working well. We can get started. All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to episode 87 of Gear Talk. Gear Talk is a show that I do every other week where we talk about the geekier side of rollerblading. If you know the difference between Volo and Roces, if you know the difference between the Fifth Element, the V13, and the M12, you've probably come to the right place. If you remember the Cootie fondly, if you kind of remember the Grawl, but you never really skated them, totally fine. You come to the right place. I'm not sure that we're going to be able to get to all of those skates tonight, but I definitely love learning about the history of rollerblading, primarily aggressive skating. I'm more of an aggressive skater myself, but there is a huge history of skate-related lore out there, and I try to get through as much of it as I can every other week on YouTube. If you are watching live, we do this every other Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Would love to have you in the live stream. It's a great opportunity to chat with other rollerbladers who are passionate about the geeky stuff. Want to know about T25 versus M4 hex keys, all of that stuff that nobody ever asked about when we were kids, but now it's all that I can think about. If you use the blue Loctite or the red Loctite. Speaking of, I'm very excited about the Matrix coming out. I know this is kind of off topic, but the blue and the red with the blue and the red pill, the Matrix, what's the last one? Resurrection? No, I don't know what it's called. The last one that's coming out, they were filming it in my old hometown in Oakland. So we saw some of the previews back summer, I guess, of last year when they were filming it. Super huge Matrix fan. That was how I knew that I was going to marry my wife back 15 years ago or so. She was big into the Matrix as well. And 311, which is crazy because she didn't rollerblade. So for a non-rollerblader to be into 311, you know you gotta put a ring on it, as Beyonce would say. Anyway, so we do this every other Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. If you are able to join, we would love to have you. Just come on into the chat. If you have a question, I love answering your questions. Make sure that you tag Back to Blading. Sometimes it's a little difficult for me to read when the comments are flying through. So make sure that you tag Back to Blading so that I can see it. It shows up in orange. If you have a question after the fact, if you're watching this in the future and we've already done the live stream, make sure you leave a comment in the video. I would love nothing more than to answer your question. I love learning about stuff. I love helping people get into rollerblading. I think it's the best thing that you can do for your life. I think it's great for mental flexibility and exercise, and it's great for physical exercise. It's a great community to be a part of. And, you know, when I put my skates on, I kind of take a break from reality and just go out there and float around my neighborhood. And I don't know of another sport that allows you to do that. The freedom of feet that Rems always used to talk about, that Kato was bringing up with Out and Toto back in the days. It's a true feeling, you know, being able to put some skates on, put some wheels on your feet, and just go have fun. Get out of Dodge for a little bit. Before we get started, I always like to thank our friends over at the Helmet Initiative for helping us with our helmet giveaway. I'm a huge proponent of giving people as much insurance as they can when they skate. You know, and that usually means wearing your pads. I am a software developer, so I always skate with my wrist guards. I don't want to break my wrists because it would mean that I can't do my thing that brings in the money. If you fall and you hit your head, chances are you're going to have a pretty bad injury. You know, there's not a lot of minor head injuries. They're usually pretty bad. So if you fall and you hit your head, it doesn't matter how good of a skater you are. If you're skating, there's a potential that you're going to fall down, a potential that you're going to hit your head. I always try to recommend people wear their helmets. And if you need a helmet, I know that they can be a little bit pricey, getting a good helmet. You want to get a good helmet. You don't want to chimp out on a helmet. Helmets and wheels, I think those are the two things that I always recommend people get really nice. Get yourself a good helmet so that if you fall, you won't hurt yourself too bad. Get yourself some nice wheels so that when you go out and skate, you actually enjoy skating. You have a little bit of grip. You have a nice flow, a little bit of bounce. You can get some cheap wheels, but it's just not the same experience. With a helmet, you can get a cheap helmet, but hey, if you fall, it probably won't do very much for you. We want to help. So thanks to the Helmet Initiative, they are a great organization that does a ton of helmet giveaways. They usually do events, and they have a tent at, like a state fair or something like that, where they give away helmets or they swap out old helmets for new helmets. They have been very nice to us, and they sent us a box of helmets to give away. If you are interested in a helmet, no sob story needed, no excuses. I would love to give you a helmet if you need a helmet. Go to backtoblading.com/helmet. I will put a link in the show notes or in the chat. Backtoblading.com/helmet. Give us your name, give us your information so that we can contact you. We will choose one person at random to give away a helmet at the end of the show. Actually, I usually leave that on for about 12 hours or so. So I'll turn it off. I'll go to sleep tonight, and then I'll turn it off the next morning. And if you're interested in a helmet, put in your name and information. We'd love to give you one. I will pick somebody at random. I'll get in contact with you. I'll get your name and address, and I will send you a helmet. Now, if you are in the U.S., you will get a helmet. If you are outside of the U.S., it gets a little expensive. Not only for us shipping it to you, but for you to receive it. We've sent a few helmets over to the UK. We've sent a few helmets down to Brazil. And either they get returned because customs charges are so expensive, or they end up costing almost as much as the helmet to import. So rather than sending you a helmet, we will give you some money. The way that we get the money is through our Patreon supporters. So if you go to patreon.com/backtoblading, even $1 a month can help us with this helmet giveaway. We've got a bunch of exclusive content there. We do a podcast that we publish early. I've been posting a bunch of pictures up there with kind of teasers with what I'm working on here at Back to Blading. All of the revenue that we make from the Patreon goes to the Helmet Initiative and a few other projects to keep the lights on, but it is a great way to help us, help others get helmets onto other people's heads. We send people cash. So rather than having a helmet go over to the UK and have them pay VAT and have us pay $30 in shipping, we'll just send them $50 so that they can buy their own helmet, whatever helmet they want. I actually had, I think I told this story last episode, but I had a winner in, where the heck were they? They were in Malaysia, I think. And I sent them the $50, which is what I usually do for the helmet giveaway. I sent them the $50, and because the $50 in US dollars is worth more in Malaysia, they were able to buy 2 helmets. So they were able to get a helmet for themselves as well as their friend. And that was amazing. That's a really great feeling that we're able to help these people out, get people so that they have a little bit of protection on their head. We couldn't do this without the support of our people on Patreon. Thank you all so much. And also all of the great people over at the helmetinitiative.org. Check them out if you want more information on the Helmet Initiative. It's a really great organization. They're just amazing. They've been supporting us for about 2 years now, and it's been really great to have. All right, Helmet Initiative all done. Let's talk about my current setup. So I haven't been able to do any big wheels lately. It's been cold here. I know it's probably not super cold where you are, or I should say it's probably colder where you are. It's not that cold here, but for me, I don't like skating in the cold. You could probably skate in like 2 o'clock or so and it would be okay, but I gotta work. So it's usually, 11 o'clock when I am able to go out and skate my big wheels, and it's in the 40s, and I know that's probably not super cold, but I don't want to go out there and skate. I'd rather just stay in here where it's warm. But I was able to skate some aggressive. I skated a couple of times since we did your talk last, and I am still on the God's Tim Frankens. So these are the God's Tim Frankens. These are the reissue or the reboot of the USD 7 skate. Now the USD 7 came into this world as the USD Gricon back in late 2000s, maybe early 2010s or so. They are a plastic shell boot. Nothing surprising there. It's a plastic cuff, plastic shell. What's amazing about this skate is it is a flat sole. So for me, I prefer a flat sole boot. What that means is inside this skate, rather than a big piece of plastic, you have direct access to the frame bolts. The boot is completely flat on the bottom. So this UFS frame mounts directly to this sole plate, which mounts directly to this boot. And this sole plate, you can see there's no heel raise to speak of. It is completely flat. That means that you can put a shock absorber inside this boot so that you can get your forward lean. Everybody loves a little bit of forward lean. Some people like more than others. But with a flat sole boot, you can adjust the forward lean. You can get a really thick shock absorber like the ones in the Razors SLs or the Razor Shifts, or like the old Solomons. Or you can get a really thin one like the ones in the Tim Frankens, or like the USD Carbons or the Seba CJs. I like a slight heel raise. The nice thing though is that it's adjustable now, so I can adjust it as much as I want. If I want a little bit or if I want a lot. And it is made out of a nice squishy material. So when you're doing gaps, it really helps your heels from getting all tired and worn out after jumping. I've seen plenty of people injure their heels from doing gaps, especially if they're doing a raised heel boot like a Them 909 or a Majestic 12 or a Sway, and they have like an aluminum frame, like a core frame or a Sola frame or something like that. Heaven forbid you also put Famous wheels on that thing. That's just metal, 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 way too metal. You jump off of something, you're just gonna damage the heck out of your heels. Having a shock absorber in there will help. So I always recommend having some sort of a shock absorber, whether you use an FP insole or something like that. But having a flat boot really helps, because then I have the heels with a shock absorber. I don't have to worry about damaging myself, and I can skate longer. I swapped out the stock liners with the MyFit Crown liners. So these are about 90 bucks, 95 bucks, I think. I got these from Inline Warehouse. They're a little hard to find, but I was able to scout them around and I found them from Inline Warehouse. They are one of the best liners I have ever skated. They are well constructed. Everything in here seems, well, I say that, and the shock absorber is supposed to stick here with Velcro with the glue, and clearly the glue did not stick. Other than that, they are very well constructed. So the stitching is really nice. It is nice and padded. It is one of the puffier liners on the market. So this area here on the side, not too crazy, well supported, but a little bit of puffy. It's really up in the heel area and the cuff area that you get all this puff. This is a very thick liner. It also has this power arch thing that helps with support back there. I might actually take this off. I don't know that it's really helping all that much. I don't know that it does that much. Maybe it makes it a little bit more difficult to bend myself. It feels like there's like a little metal. You can kind of see the section here, a little bit of metal there, or some plastic that's keeping it from flexing. I don't know that I need that. It is removable, so it's all Velcro, so I could remove it if I wanted to. But I've been skating these in the Tim Frankens and absolutely loving this setup. I did try the stock liners. The stock liners for me just didn't have that filling out of the, oops, it's upside down, filling out of the shell that I needed. These are fairly roomy shells. So this is a 43-44. Really, it's more like a 44-45. If you had the stock liners, I think 44 could be the low end. You could probably fit your 45 foot in there. With this big puffy liner though, it fits me perfectly. Now I did heat mold these so that they would fit perfectly. I absolutely love them though. It is a great skate. The USD 7 sole plate is one of my favorite sole plates. I can't say that it's my favorite after skating them again. I don't know what my favorite is. I do like the USD Carbon sole plate as well. Feels like the Royale groove on this just misses a little bit. I think that the Royale groove on the USD Carbon is a little better, but I do like the sole plate of this. I like the heel of this. It feels like it comes out a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know. Personal preference. Any flat sole boot, though, sign me up. And I'm on Prime Frames, so, you know, full disclosure, I do own 50/50, so I do skate these, drink up if you're playing along. I do skate these Prime Frames. These are my favorite frames. You know, we designed these to be perfect for anti-rocker. They're really good for flat, but I skate anti-rocker. I'm skating 60, 88. I do like my soft wheels. 88A is my preferred hardness. Gives me a little bit of bounce, a little bit of grip, and, you know, especially with metal frames, a little softer on the wheel might be kind of nice. And I'm on the Chroma Antis. These are the raspberry anti-rockers. Still smell like raspberries if you're interested. They are 47 mil, 90 or 75D, so it's a little bit harder than the 101A that you're used to on most urethane wheels. This is a special hand-poured, we pour them in-house, hand-poured wheel. Very nice, and they smell like raspberries, so what's not to like? Anyway, I really love this setup. I'm going to skate them one last time this weekend, I think, and then probably put them on the wall, do my review at the end. Not really much to improve. You know, I love the new lacing system. I think transitioning from the eyelets to these little, you know, these, well, I don't know what they're called, but these over the cuff things, over the liner things that lace really, really nice. The liner that came with it sucks, and I think that is the problem. If it came with a MyFit crown liner, if it came with a Fat Boy liner that came in the USC 7s originally, these would be amazing skates out the box. Only thing I would do, upgrade the liner, and I think you're in good shape. They are the Tim Franken's Gods. They're about $350 complete, I think. And yeah, you can get them now. All the skate shops, not sponsored. I bought these with my own money, but definitely recommend them. They're a really fun skate if you're into a plastic shell boot and you like a little bit bigger skate. You don't want a slim skate. You want a little bit of more of a puffy, more room inside that shell. Really good skates for you. All right. Let's take a few questions before we get started. Again, if you are in the live stream, would love to answer your questions. Make sure that you tag Back to Blading so that I can see them. I see a few questions already, which is great. Thank you so much. If you're watching this after and you'd like to ask a question, please just leave it in the comments of the video. I read all of the comments. If you have a question, I'd love to answer it. It's the best way to get a hold of me. Little bit of water. Love the water. All right, let's get started. Anthony Mejia. I don't know how to pronounce your name, Anthony. I appreciate you coming every time. M-E-J-I-A. I don't know. Mejia. I apologize. Someday you should send me a message and tell me how to pronounce your name so that I know how to do it correctly next time. What do you know about the Roces Element 50 skates? I had picked some up and never heard of them. They look like Solomon boots. Interesting. I don't know a lot about those. I saw them before, and yeah, they look kind of like those Solomon, these things, I think. Oh my god. It's stuck on the hook. Oh, now it's stuck on the light. They look kind of like these Solomons, if I'm correct. The Element 50s. I want to say they might have just been a cheap version. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. I don't know that I've ever seen them in person. I don't know that I can get them in the US. It's a great question. But I know that I've seen them before. They look very similar to this skate, probably a fitness-specific skate. Yeah, let me see if I can do a little research and get some information on that. I'll try to follow up with that. There's a lot of skates out there I don't know about. There's been a lot of skates, so I do my best. But that's not in the main path of Roces history. If we talked about top tier skates, that wouldn't be one of them that I would consider. I could be wrong. Roland Ashcroft, could you do a video about sole plate plastics? UHMW versus glass reinforced nylon versus POM versus PETP? Excellent question. You're my sort of guy. My sort of person, I should say. Yeah, I would love to do nothing more than talk about sole plate molecular construction. I love that sort of stuff. So I don't have a lot of background in material design or chemicals or anything like that. What I do know from my experience, most of the sole plates, like the ones on the Tim Frankens, this is probably just a glass-filled nylon. I don't think it's anything special. It's probably the same material that we make frames out of, which is like a glass-filled nylon. They might use something different. I've never made a sole plate, so I don't know what materials are available, but usually you want something that's a little bit strong, but not super strong. You want more speed, more hardness. You're less worried about a sole plate cracking than you are a frame cracking. So you can use something a little bit harder, which would make it slide a little bit faster. I have skated UHMW, and I've skated a few different machined sole plates. These Adapt are not UHMW. I think they're Delrin. I don't know what material they are, but they're a really cool sole plate. They slide really nice. Beauty about this plasticky machined sort of material, this self-lubricating plastic like UHMW, is it definitely feels, when you jump on, feels softer, but it feels faster. So when you jump on with really hard sole plates, you kind of get that crunchy, like almost uncontrollable feeling, you know what I mean? Where you just kind of bounce around, especially on a rough ledge. With sole plates like this, when you jump on, it's really just a smooth ride. You know, probably because it's digging in and it's cutting little things into this sole plate because it's soft, but because of the way that it's constructed, it's smooth, it's fast, it's grind plate. That's why we always use UHMW instead of injection molding for the fitty grind plates. We couldn't find a material that would be comparable for grind plates that was injection molded. It had to be machined. It had to be like a self-lubricating plastic. And a lot of people used plastics that were injection molded. It's a lot cheaper, a lot easier to make, but definitely didn't have the performance that we wanted. You can also do 3D printing. So I know Justin 3D prints a bunch of sole plates. There are a lot of people out there who are experimenting with 3D printing now. If you go to rebooting.tech, I think, you can find a lot of open source STL files that you can download and print your own sole plates. Make sure that you do it at the right scale, though. Otherwise, you'll get a 1/10 sole plate, which is no fun, but it can be very expensive. I want to learn more, though. So definitely, if and when I get to making a sole plate, I will do a full show on sole plates, different materials, different construction, different designs. It's something that I think we kind of undervalue. I think a lot of people just throw sole plates on there, and you see, them changing their sole plate design, which I think is a great design. It looks like a great design now. A little bit of geometry will make a few tricks easier. A little bit of a scoop in your Royale angle will help you lock on without slipping off a little bit. A little bit more of a heel will help you balance out top soles or top passage or whatever. When you do top side trick, especially if you're turning yourself, having a little bit of a lip at the end, at the heel, really helps lock you on. So I'm more interested in the geometry than the materials, but when I get to the point where I'm talking about materials, I will definitely do a show on it. Great question. Yeah, thanks for watching. Keep on blading says, currently recovering from broken hand and leg. Oh, what did you do? Ever broken anything, and how long did it take you to recover? I am very fortunate that I've never broken a bone in my body, in my life. I am definitely accident prone. I fall down a lot, as I have dogs and kids, things aren't always where they're supposed to be, so I bump into things a lot at home. But when skating, I always protect myself as much as I can. I don't wear elbow pads, but I do knee pads, shin guards, wrist guards, and helmet. I have injured myself a few times. I jacked up my wrist really bad, and that's why I wear wrist guards. By what was I doing? I was bracing myself, I think. I thought that I broke myself. There are these little bones in your wrist that I was a little worried. I can't remember what they're called, but I was a little worried that I broke those bones, and I was like, ugh, this is going to be bad because, I type all day. So it's like if I can't use my wrist, I'm down to one hand, and it's like, it's hard to write efficient code if you can't write with both hands. No, I haven't broken a bone. I've been very, very fortunate. My daughter, my 14-year-old daughter, has broken almost every bone in her body. She's just getting off what was broken last? Was it her arm? It was her arm. She fell off of a hoverboard and braced herself and snapped one of her bones and tibia or radius or ulna or whatever they're called. She's broken that. She's broken her leg. She's broken the other arm. I mean, she's broken her wrist. She's broken all the things. But yeah, I've been very fortunate. I hope you get better soon, though. Having injuries sucks, especially when you are so connected with social and you're like, oh, I want to go out and skate. And you're living vicariously through the people posting on your Instagram. And you're like, I want to go do that, but I cannot be there. Good luck. A couple more months, I hope. Then you'll be out skating with us again. It's cold anyway. Don't worry about it. Just hibernate until spring. You'll be fine. All right. Paul Rosenau. Good to see you. Good to see you, Paul. What are your thoughts on the new Intuition Premium liners? Individual sizes sound like they could be a big win for people with size issues in V2s. Absolutely. So for those who didn't know, the Intuition Premium liner was announced today for pre-order. Most shops are doing them. They are $220. They were $200 for the V1 and the V2. This is $220. Slight improvements in the fit and finish, but most importantly, they're offering individual sizes, which used to be only available in the Danny Beers and the Pat Ritters, and I think maybe the FRs did individual sizing. Famously, I was a big Intuition hater, and I don't know if that's famously, and I don't know if I'm an Intuition hater, but people used to say that I hated Intuitions. And the reason why I hated Intuitions, I guess I did, the reason why I hated Intuitions is because at $200, that's an expensive liner. It better fit. And I never found an Intuition liner that fit my foot the way that it should. I got the 909s, the gray 909s with the black Intuition, and they didn't fit my feet. They were too small. And everybody said, oh, you just got to break them in. You just got to skate more. And I'm like, well, dude, I don't have time to skate every day. And I'm only skating for an hour or so when I get a chance. So I'm never going to break these in. So I guess these aren't for me. I was very fortunate for John Julio to send me a pair of the Danny Beer 44 28.5 centimeter liners, which is the 10.5, I guess. When they were doing testing, they needed somebody who had the right foot. And I was like, I'm your man. I would love to test them. And I loved them. Unfortunately, I had to send them back because that's what I do. They weren't my liners. They were just for testing. But I did like them. The negative that I had with Intuition is I do like having a little bit of neoprene in the front so that my toes can move around. I will say having individual sizes, though, might change that altogether. If I can find the size that fits my foot perfectly, then all I need to do is find the boot that will fit that liner perfectly. And I'm interested. I haven't pre-ordered them. I'm really not a liner guy. I'm just, like, the Crowns were the first real liners that I was super excited about. I do skate the Roces RL1, and I do like those liners, but it feels like I'm not ready to make the jump to a $220 liner. Maybe I am. I don't know. Maybe it's something that I should do. But I am excited that they're offering individual sizes because I know that a lot of people want to skate Intuitions, but for whatever reason, they're on the bubble and they don't fit their feet perfectly, like me. If that's you, you've got hope. It's going to happen. $220, little bit of high expense for a piece of skating, gear that's going to go on your foot. But if you wear it every time you skate, and how long are you going to keep them? I mean, years, right? So I think it will be a good investment. They look great. Can't wait to get a pair. I haven't pre-ordered yet, but I think I will. I think I will get a pair. I don't think I will pre-order. I got way too many skates in the queue right now. So as soon as I catch up with it, probably February or so, I'll probably get a pair. All right. Last question. The machine that took my family. Any thoughts on 3D printing material for shells? Looking for something similar to carbon. Ooh, good luck, dude. I don't think you can print shells. I think the flex that you're going to get is going to be really hard to fight with a 3D print. We use PLA Plus or PLA Max for our frame walls. So when we do frame walls for the core frame market, we use PLA Max. It works really well for what we need, but I don't think it's going to hold up to flex. Like the problem with plastic shells, I just threw it on the ground, is that you want a really rigid area, but you want a little bit of flex, otherwise it's going to crack. I see where you're going with carbon, and I think having a carbon shell would be really good, but I still feel like it's going to be too brittle and it's going to crack. I don't know that there is an option, but I can say if you 3D print a shell, you can always send that to somebody to make out of carbon or to make out of something. It might be a little bit more expensive, but it will be less expensive because you're doing the design work. You figured out the sizing. All you need to do is send them the AutoCAD file or whatever, Rhino file or whatever you're using. And then they can print that out, create their own local thing, and then wrap the carbon. I don't know how you do carbon, but I think you wrap it. I think you do some heating thing or wet thing. I don't know how it works, but I feel like that is getting the design is the most difficult part. If you can get the design and you print out a sample and you know that it fits your foot perfectly and it fits the liner perfectly, I think that's the hard part. Sending it off to get carbon created, probably going to be a lot cheaper. Good luck. I love DIY. I love the whole idea of making your own skates, especially if they're making skates that you have in mind, the perfect skate for you. I'm a big fan, so I hope you get through it. All right, let's talk a little bit about Roces. So, oops, I just knocked my water. Everything okay? Yep. Let's talk a little bit about Roces. So, there are a few skate companies out there, but only a handful as old and as established as Roces. I think maybe Rollerblade is the only other company that's been in the game for just as long. I don't know if Roces predates Rollerblade. It probably does, because they were making ice skates, right, back in the days. So definitely one of the OGs of our industry. They've been making skates forever. And in fact, Roces was the company that made the original rollerblade skates. If you remember these things, oh, my poor TRS. So loyal viewers of the show remember that I had a pair of mint TRS for a while. They didn't fare very well in my garage, so I've got these pieces of plastic just falling off everywhere. The wheels still have mold lines though, so they don't spin very well, but you could definitely still use the wheels. And the frame looks like it's in good condition, but this boot, definitely not in the best conditions. Anyway, something a little bit more recent. These rollerblade boxcars. So this probably wasn't made by Roces, but the old ones were. And that's amazing to me that a skate company now, complete competitor to Rollerblade, used to make the skates, the boots that Rollerblade was using for the original, like the Zetra 303s and stuff like that. So they've been around for a while. My first skates were the what were they? I think they were the Lightning 608s, maybe? Yeah, the Lightning 608s. And then I got a pair of TRS, and then I got a pair of Roces Moscows. And the Roces Moscows were very similar to this style. Really, I mean, they looked pretty much like this. It was a slightly different design. I think they were gray, but I skated those skates forever. They were my favorite skates. They were the skates that I learned all of my tricks on, and they were made by Roces. So I was a Roces fanboy from way back in the days. When there were only really two brands out there, Roces and Rollerblade. That's all that you got. You could get Ultra Wheels, I guess. You could get, I don't know what the other brands were, but Veriflex probably made some skates back in the days. But you didn't want any of those. You wanted Roces, or you wanted Rollerblade. And if you knew what you were getting, you would get Roces. I got mine from Inline Sports, which was a chain of skate shops in the Bay Area. They had probably at their peak 6 locations or so. I used to go to the Pleasanton one, which is funny enough, where I met Ted Simpson. Ted was he was working there at the time. He was the guy that started 50/50 with Jess. So Ted was a machinist and a rollerblader, had a lot of really great ideas and worked with Jess to develop the original grind plates. And one thing led to another, and here we are 25, 26 years later with prime frames and wheels and bearings and all that stuff. So that all started way back then, and they sold Roces. So they had Roces as well as Rollerblade, but they had Roces, and they were one of the few places in the Bay Area that had Roces. Probably one of the few places in the United States that carried Roces back in the days. This is like 94, 95, I think, when I got my Roces. Anyway, I've been a big fan of Roces. I think they've always had really great quality. Some of their designs have been a little hit or miss, but I love their passion for making high quality stuff. You know, regardless of how weird some of their skates looked, they've always been extremely functional, extremely well thought out, and really high quality. You know, nobody ever complained about stock Roces liners. It just doesn't happen. They might not be for you, but they don't hurt anybody's feet. They just work. They're probably the best stock liners out there. And the shell might not fit your feet. It doesn't really fit my feet, but it works for a lot of people, and those people love those skates. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what I know about Roces, some of the Roces skates that I have on the wall, and talk a little bit about Volo and what Volo was all about. And I'm going to get a lot of things wrong. I'm just going to preface that. You know, I missed a lot of this. I was really heavy in the industry from 97, 98, up until 2003. And around 2003, you know, I left the industry. I had some family issues that I needed to take care of. And I kind of dropped off the map from 2003, 2004, up until about 5 years ago. So, 2017 or so. So there is a big gap of like 10 years that I'm probably going to screw up. And please, if I get anything wrong, let me know in the live stream. I want to learn this stuff. I think it's important that we learn our history. And unfortunately, there's not a good, you know, there's that guy that does those Instagram posts where he goes through the history of Solomon or the history of the USD throne. I haven't seen a ton of those with the history of Volo or the history of Roces. I saw the Fifth Element, maybe specific models, but it's hard to get a history book that explains our industry, and that's something that I think is lacking. So I try to share. If I get something wrong, correct me. Leave a comment, make sure that you tag me, and I will make sure that I correct myself. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about Roces. So like I said, I got my Roces Moscows back in 97 or so. Around that time, Roces was just making fitness skates. You know, they didn't really know anything about aggressive. Then in 95, 96? No, when was it? It must have been 95. They had so my dates are probably off. Probably 94 is when I got my Moscows. 95 is probably when I saw the first Majestic 12s. And those I saw, who was skating them? I think Dave Kolash was skating them at the NIS in San Francisco. So 95 NIS. I competed in 95 NIS. I got 14th, I think, 13th. So did pretty well. My friends and I went and we all competed. My friend Jason Marshall got like 6th. So I didn't do great. That was kind of when I realized that skating professionally wasn't for me. But I was able to meet a bunch of people. I met BK, Brian Konofsky, and I met Dave Kolash, who was my biggest idol. Like I love Dave Kolash. This was right when Mad Beef came out. So being able to see, or at least when we first saw Mad Beef. So being able to see Dave skate was amazing. He didn't skate very much in the comp, but he was there. I don't know what he was doing there, actually. I'm not really sure. I remember driving him back. It was me and Jason in the car with BK and Dave in the back. We drove them to the Oakland airport, and we were going over the Bay Bridge. So if you know San Francisco, in order to get to Oakland from San Francisco, you got to go over the Bay Bridge. The Golden Gate is the most famous bridge, but the Bay Bridge is the bridge that most people use. It connects San Francisco to Emeryville, which is where Pixar is. And Emeryville is right next to like Berkeley and Oakland and all that. And the Oakland airport is in Oakland. So we had to drive over the Bay Bridge. And I remember Dave staring out the window, like freaking out because he's never been, you know, he's from Oklahoma or from Nebraska. He doesn't know, you know, big bodies of water. He doesn't know big bridges like that. So he's looking out the window like, oh my God, this is a crazy big bridge. So that was kind of funny. We dropped them off, and I think BK said, "Oh, I'll send you some Senate stuff," and he never did. But I love BK. I met him later, and I gave him crap about that, and he was like, "Oh, I'll give you some stuff now," but time had passed. I wasn't that into it anymore. Anyway, the Majestic 12. So this was a really fascinating skate. I'm going to use this boxcar a lot because I don't actually have any Roces skates. But this is a good example of what those skates looked like back in the days. The Roces Majestic 12 was the top, just like this. It really just looked like this boxcar. The bottom had the Majestic 12 frame. So it was the first time that I know of that Roces made an aggressive grinding frame. They did make a ramp version, so they used the same boot, and they made a metal frame that was designed for vert. I think it was called the Moscow Ramp. And you could see Mark Heineken skating them in the old Daily Breads or in the Hoax. You can see these skating these metal frames. They were metal, had this weird sliding, like long, like almost like a fondue fork where you slide it in the side and it keeps the axles in. And it had this plastic grind plate in the middle. I think it skated 65 flat, something like that. It was crazy. But we were very excited about the Majestic 12 because it was a lower profile frame. You can see how tall this frame is. I don't have, this is just for comparison, but so using the ruler, from the wheel to like where the wheel went, these probably fit, 72, maybe 80 mil wheels. Those Majestic 12s, I don't know how big the wheels fit, but probably 58, maybe 60 mil, maybe 65. Like, very low profile. And for us, back in those days, we used to create our own frames. We would chop down our frames. We would cut with a saw across where the axles were and drill our own axles. Put the spacers back in so that we can put the wheels in and get a lower profile ride. Here was a Majestic 12 that came like that. It also had an H block. So you look in the inside here, there's nothing to talk about. This is basically what we were skating back then. But this just broke. You would skate it and then it would just break. The Majestic 12 came with an H block. So they were listening to us. It was designed by, Tom Fry and Jess and Renee Holgreen and all those guys. And they said, we need a place to grind because we're breaking frames. There was an H block in it. And that was probably, aside from the Tarmac CE, the rollerblade Tarmac, probably one of the first real aggressive skates out there. And everybody wanted it. I mean, it was an amazing skate. That was the one that Randy Spicer used to always skate. Arlo used to skate at Roces. Everybody was skating Roces. Roces was the cool company to be on at that time. So things progressed, and Roces knew that the Fifth Element wasn't going to be around, or the Majestic 12 wasn't going to be around forever. They started work on the Fifth Element. This is when the boom was happening, 97, 98, and there was a lot of money flowing into the industry. So they made the Fifth Element, which was their first skate that I know of that was designed for aggressive. So it wasn't repurposing a fitness boot. It was a complete skate from the ground up designed for aggressive skating. And they knocked it out of the park. These things were so popular. Now, I will preface this by saying that this is the third edition Fifth Element. This is not the original Fifth Element, even though it says Fifth Element in the back. You can see the design very specific to the Fifth Element, very reminiscent of the Fifth Element, but it's a little different. These extra eyelets, they were never in the original Fifth Element. This wide open area, this was not the way the Fifth Element was. It was a lot closer. This groove definitely wasn't how the Fifth Element was. It was more like a little pocket groove. But it gives you a good idea of what the Fifth Element was all about. It featured plastic everywhere, a dual injection flexi lacing area, which means that when you lace up your skates, the laces pull your foot in a little bit and really comfortably keep your foot in. This is what I'm talking about with Roces and liners and stuff. They really cared about comfort. Even this liner is a beautiful liner. It's got this leather on it, really nice padding on the insides, and this is a stock liner. They didn't make aftermarket liners back then. This is stock liner. Their frame was a frame sole plate. So really cool design. This whole frame and this sole plate is one piece. It mounts using 3 different bolts. 1, 2, 3. Those 3 bolts are like axles. They go through the inside, and underneath here there's these, can't really see them, but there's like these little like V's, I guess, kind of like that, upside down, that attach in. So this V would fit like this way, and the frame slides in, and you put the axles in, and then you mount them down, and then using this 3-bolt system, it keeps the sole plate connected to the boot. You could replace them. I don't think they ever sold replacements. I'm sure some shops had them, but really they were just a nice way to use a different material for the bottom and have a replaceable sole plate story that they could tell people. Came with a sole plate, came with a grind plate, came with an H-block. It was really the Roces skate, and everybody was skating these Fifth Elements. This is back when John Julio was skating on Roces. This is Champion Baumstimler. It was Rollinson Rivera. It was an amazing time for Roces when these came out. I want to say when they first came out was 98, maybe 97, 98. I know that we saw them at the NSGA trade show. That's where I first saw them. And this was the same trade show that Senate had their Channel Zero video. And it was the same time that K2 released the King 55 and the Style Points Bob. So I don't know what year that is. My money's on like 98. I think 97 might be a little early. But 98 sounds about right. I remember seeing John doing backfire. That's when the backfire... Funny enough, kids, we didn't have all the tricks that you have nowadays. When I was your age, we didn't have backfives. We didn't have unities. Those were all John Julio tricks. I don't know who invented the backfire, but John was the guy who made them look good. And he was doing them. It was a new trick, and he was doing them on the mini ramp. There was an Oxygen skate company, Oxygen mini ramp, and there was a harp player on the deck, and Pat Parnell was announcing the runs. It was very weird demo space. We had a lot of money back then, and Oxygen just threw it around. Roces threw it around. Senate threw it around. Amazing trade show. I'll see if I can find, I think Lacey Smith, my good friend Lacey, she had her camcorder then. I'll see if I can find some of that footage, because I think seeing the trade show back then would be pretty amazing to see. But that was like 98, and that was when the Fifth Element came out, and everybody wanted a pair. It's an amazing skate. I never skated them. I think Jess had a pair, but they were a little small for me. I think it was a 42, and I just couldn't fit my foot in. But I absolutely love this. It's just an iconic look. The original ones were like this black and red. They had this colorway as well. It was very, very cool. They ran these for a while. There were a few different iterations on this kind of concept. They did the Cootie. I'm not sure which one came first, the Cootie or the Grawl. I think the Cootie came first. It was a soft top area, so it was very similar design, but it had like a soft top lacing area. And then eventually they had the UFS version, which I think was the Grawl. That was when, what's his name? Down in Australia. I can't remember. It's Blake Dennis. Blake Dennis had his pro model. One of the few pro models for Roces, I'll add. They didn't really do pro model skates. But Blake Dennis had a pro model. It was black and silver, really amazing looking skate. And it was UFS, which was awesome. I never skated them, though. I don't have a pair. These are the last Roces that I had. Around that time, they started the era with Ollie Short and, what was it, Face the Music? Is that what it's called? So they had some amazing skaters back then. Really a very killer vibe. Like you could tell a Roces skater from a mile away. And around 2003, I think, Roces decided that they were going to stop using the Roces brand to make aggressive skates and just focus on their fitness stuff, which they were still killing. I mean, we aggressive skaters tend to think of skating as just aggressive. We're such a small amount of skating. Maybe 5% of all skates are aggressive that are sold. Most people out there know Roces because they make amazing regular skates. They make quad skates. They make figure skates. They make ice skates. They make everything. anything with this boot, this old Majestic 12 style boot, they make it, and they will mount some sort of a frame on it, and they'll be able to skate. And I think Roces wanted to get into that fitness sport. They wanted to be more recreational. So I don't know the full history. What I do know from picking up from different people is that they approached John Julio to skate for Roces. Now, John was skating for USD at the time. And they said, hey, John, we want to do a brand. And we want you to take over the marketing and the shape of the brand. We will pay you. I don't know if we made you owner or how that behind the scenes stuff works. All I know is that John would become the face of a brand. He would be kind of like the designer, the marketing guy in charge of the team, in charge of marketing and budget and stuff like that. And Roces would handle the logistics. So they would handle the production, the design, the actual implementation of the designs, the shipping, the billing, the returns, all that stuff. And that's where Volo came from. So Volo was named after John's dad. I think it's his dad. Yeah, I think it's his dad. And this was around 2003, 2004, when John started really just taking over. And Volo was an amazing brand. Volo lasted for 15 years or so. I think he closed up shop in 2018. Volo really maybe didn't introduce, but they made it commonplace. I guess technically the TRS was one of the first. I mean, you could go back and say that the Fatty was, but I think TRS probably was the first like plastic inside with skin, like replaceable skin sort of thing, because Fatties and K2 skates were never really replaceable. They were kind of like, this is the thing, soft boot technology. But what John did and what Roces did is take a Majestic 12 and wrap it in a skin so that it looked like a shoe and put a new sole plate on it. And you've got a brand new skate. So I have a few of these. I don't have any of the old ones, but around 2003, 2004 is when they started hitting the industry. This is a great example of what those skates look like. So this is a Volo SO1 Rock. I don't even know what that means. You can see what it says back here, but Volo skate. But this is a really good example of what many Volo skates looked like back in the days. It is a skinned skate. So this is just a skin around a Majestic 12. You can kind of see underneath that it's a Majestic 12. It's kind of hard to see. So the Majestic 12 gives the skate its rigidity, its strength, and everything. The bottom is a brand new sole plate. So this was a brand new sole plate that they designed for Volo. It fit over the skin, so it was a little bigger. It was UFS. In this case, it's a 3-piece sole. They later came out with a 2-piece sole, which is what they sell now. These two were replaceable. Then this sole plate mounted to the bottom, all these screws, and you've got a brand new skate. And the brilliance of this is they could come out with a new model every quarter by just changing the skin. Do a different color sole plate or don't, and have a completely different skin, and the skate looks completely different. This was amazing. You know, the Rollerblade TRS, just for comparison, this is the Rollerblade Downtown, but it's designed around the Rollerblade TRS, which is the first one that came out. The TRS Access, and probably 2001, I think is when it came out, 2002. But this was their answer to that. And this is, you know, just like that, it's got a plastic underneath. It is a plastic shell. It is a skin. But Rollerblade is so big, they didn't do the quick and nimble releases. They probably had one of these every year, maybe one of these every 2 years, depends on how busy things were. And they had a couple models, but, you know, they wouldn't change them around all the time. Volo did so many numbers. And you could see just Volos everywhere. Like, if you look at any of those old videos, everybody's skating Volos, and they looked amazing. Like, obviously there are issues with them. They're a little bit fatter. They're a little heavy. By today's standards, maybe they wouldn't be the best skates. But for the time, for something different, they really hit that mark. and I absolutely love it. You know, I missed that whole era. I wasn't around when Valo was a big thing. They did come out with a few different skates. They came out with a Valo Lite. So the Valo Lite was based on this concept, but instead of the plastic shell, they used a carbon shell. So they had carbon underneath here instead of the Majestic 12. They used a carbon wrap, and it kind of went around just like an Adapt, just like a USD carbon. And it used the skin over it, and it used the sole plate and everything. They also had the V13, which is the one that I have now. This was actually the last V13. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, no. Oh, here it is. This was actually the last V13 that they made. This was the AB Midnight. These came out maybe a week after or a week before John announced he was starting them and was shutting down Valo. They are the Majestic 12. So this is that same shell that we were talking about earlier. You can see this boxcar. Same looking boot, right? Same everything, same cuff. Same different cuff, but same style. This used the Majestic 12 sole plate that they designed. It is UFS with this raised heel sole plate. Still a great liner. And this was the end of Valo. So they had V13s, they had these TV, or they had their whatever. My favorite one of these Valos, which I was able to grab, are these Arlos. These were the Artist series, the AE1, I think they're called. Maybe AE1, AE2, I don't know which one it is. But man, look at how amazing this is. Like, these aren't made to be skated, but you sure want to skate them. I could see people skating these at the park. They're a little big. This, you know, to be fair, this is a size 12, I think. Yeah, size 12 US, so 29.5 Mondo. It's a pretty big skate. It's pretty heavy. But this just goes to show you, you can make this or this, and it's the same shell. It's the same Majestic 12 underneath. Really cool liners. All they did was change the skins, change the colors around, and you've got a completely different skate. Nobody would mistake this skate for this skate. But because of their skin technology, they were able to make whatever skates they wanted, whatever design styles, whatever they wanted. And just mock them up and say, oh, this is a good design, let's do that. They did pro models with different styles and different, you know, same silhouette, but then changed the colorways a lot. The Alex Broscow Valos that had the gold with the ribbing on the side, amazing looking skates. There was definitely a cool like sneakerhead style back then that, yeah, I don't think we have right now, but it's definitely an amazing era that I missed. So, I got these Valos. These are the V13s. They also re-released the Fifth Element. So this Fifth Element being the non-UFS version, this is the third series of the Fifth Element. They re-released the Fifth Element last year, maybe 2 years ago actually, as a brand new boot. This is the new Fifth Element. This is the Fifth Element that launched. It has obviously the same design style, aesthetic as the original Fifth Element. Few exceptions. This is UFS. Still a raised heel boot, but it uses the Valo sole plate. You can see this sole plate compared to this sole plate. This is the two-piece. This is the three-piece. But you can see that the design is very similar of the sole plates. It is UFS. It has that squishy second injection that I love. The sizing of this skate was a little off because they made it to fit a skinned skate sole plate. That meant that the shell for this needed to be like this, but without the shell. So unfortunately, the sizing is a little hit or miss. Some people are going to love it. Some people aren't. If you can figure out your size, I absolutely loved the way these skate. I feel like they're a little heavy, but you really can't beat this sole plate. It is an amazing sole plate. Grinds great. I did my best back farves on these. Really just a good flexy skate if you like flex. still with this amazing liner. I mean, again, this is a stock liner. It's amazing, beautiful liners. But a little heavy. And yeah, if the sizing doesn't fit and you can't figure out your sizing, that's not good. Last thing I wanted to say about the Roces, the buckle. You know, I don't think anybody has made a better buckle in the industry. This is their memory buckle. So you click it over on this side. Typical buckles, this is what a typical buckle looks like. So this is, you know, the Tim Franklin, the God's Tim Franklin. Typical buckle opens up over here. It's got the little clickers that you move around. You click them in. Pop, pop, pop. And you hear the pops. And you slap it in. And you got to remember how many pops you needed for your feet. You adjust the pops depending on how tight or loose you want. With a memory buckle, you do that once. You do the pop, pop, pop. You figure it out. And then check this thing out. So this little memory buckle has these little things that stick out in the front and back. You flip the buckle over this way. You pop it in. Can't do it without looking at it. You pop it in. And then you pop it down. And every single time you skate, it's at the same click because it remembers where you set it. This is moving and it's pulling it down to whatever you set it at. Absolutely brilliant. I don't know why more skate companies don't do systems like this. I don't think they have a patent on it, but they need to figure out a way to make it, because this is great. Nothing worse. I mean, you can do your Velcro. If you like your Velcro buckles, that's cool. I don't like Velcro buckles, but you got to have memory buckles. This is by far the best Roces invention. I know people try to put memory buckles on people's skates. It's not easy to do. This design, though, how much time you save, how much comfort you get from knowing exactly how tight you want your cuffs. Amazing. So that kind of brings us up to where Roces is now. I think I was mentioning, I don't own a pair of Roces. You know, I love talking about the V13, but then every time I talk about Roces, I have to say, well, this is the Majestic 12, but technically it's a Volo V13. And it's not really a Majestic 12. This is old, and this company doesn't exist anymore. And John Julio and his dad, and like it brings up all these crazy stories. So I wanted to get myself a pair of recent Majestic 12s. And funny enough, I was so thrilled that my friend and really good skater Grant Hazelton just got a pro skate, and he's in town. And Grant decided that he was going to come bring the skates over for me. So we're going to do a live unboxing of the skates and show you what the current Majestic 12 look like. And then if you have got any questions, would love to take your questions in the chat. Tag back to blading so that we could see them. If you got questions for Grant, you can ask me questions anytime. Grant's not here always. So if you have questions for Grant, would love to ask. I'm going to ask him a few questions about his skates as well, but I'm super excited to have Grant here. Grant has been shipping out all of the skates at Oak City. So anytime you order a skate from Oak City Skate Shop, the Grant skate, you're going to get a little handwritten note from Grant. You know that Grant touched those skates for you. So they're not only just a pro model, they're touched by him, assembled by him. So, all right.
Oh, here you go.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I jumped the gun.
No, this is great. I'm thrilled you are here. We don't get guests very often. It's a nice, small studio, but it's, what would you call it? Quaint, I guess?
Sure. Yeah.
Comfortable skates. All right. Check this out. Hope I don't hit you in the head.
Nope, you're good.
So, Oak City, first of all, definitely support a skate shop. Oak City's a great skate shop. They are my local. I always get my skates from Oak City if I can. They always throw in nice little things. Like this box got a sticker, some wax, a lollipop, another lollipop, some more candy. Long nose, I love my candy. But the main event, check this out. So I got these boot only. I have enough Roces. I'll throw it over here. I have enough Roces frames. I don't need more Roces frames. This is a Majestic 12. So this is what a Majestic 12 should look like. It's black, got a little bit of red because Roces is all about the red highlights. The red pull on the Roces liner, it's amazing. But this is Grant Skate. So it's got his name on the back. It's got the heart. It's got the white cuff. It's got the memory buckle. And most importantly, it's got the polka dot liner. This is amazing. I can't believe after knowing you for as long as I have that you finally have yourself a skate. What was the process like in developing this? Like, is this, you don't have to be honest, but is this the way that you wanted it? Like, is this your skate?
Yeah, it's exactly what I ended up deciding. I think it was a little bit of a unique process, not one I was like super prepared for, not the stress of it, but just like the choices and, you know, what balancing what I like, what I think I would want, what might look together versus what would sell, you know, and be popular, versus the whole idea of like all the skates we've had before. Like, how do you choose a color or a certain, you know, style that isn't going to make people think of a different skate?
Absolutely.
Or, you know, somebody that had a skate, you know, that stands out, you know, as more of history in the sport and everything. So that was kind of tough. It's like every color is like, you know what, that'd be cool to do this color. And then, you know what, I can think of 3 skates over my time that were that color. So
it's definitely unique. I know that they've done, maybe Roces hasn't done. Do you know if Roces done it a black with a white?
Not yet, as like the Roces M12, you know, I want to say the Loco or Inline Warehouse had a, you know,
sense.
but it was white, black, white, I think.
Okay.
So they've done a couple of those like shop only that
Sure.
had different color cuffs.
It's amazing.
So
It's safe, but it's you. Like, I love that it is accessible for everybody. And nothing against Bobby's skate. I don't know if you saw Bobby's skate, but it's definitely a look. And I think a product line needs that. You need those Instagrammable skates that you look at and you're like, the hell is this? Like a yellow skate, like the Danny Beer skate, like, you know, any of the crazy skates that you see now where they've just got these crazy colors and you're like, what is that? You need that in the line, but that's not a skate that people buy and they want to skate. They want to skate to collect, like this. You need this in your line. Nobody's going to skate this, though. They're going to Instagram it, and they're going, whoa, what is that? And then they're going to say, what else do they make? And then they're going to get the black one with the gray cuff.
yeah, I wish I still had a pristine pair of Bobbies to put on a shelf.
There you go. Yeah, they're for the shelf. This is beautiful. When did you guys start designing this? Like, how long has the skate been in the works?
I've never actually
It looks like we're back. Are we back? We're back. Yep. Let's see. Give me a holler in the chat if you can hear us. We're back. Nathan, you're the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nathan. My laptop was not plugged in, and I thought it was, but now it's back and it's charged up and ready to go. Thank you, YouTube. See, I give YouTube so much crap, but YouTube could
picked up pretty easily.
So I was asking you about what the development was like, because
Yes.
I've developed products in the past, and I know that it doesn't happen overnight. When did you start working on this skate?
Winter, like, you know,
Winter.
sort of January, February, maybe.
Okay.
There'd been a little bit of mention of maybe something, you know, I don't think anybody wanted to fully decide, you know, it was sort of a newer idea to give someone a skate that wasn't actually on the pro team.
Yeah, we need to talk about that too.
So there was a little bit of, how do we do this?
Yeah.
Are we going to do this? Martina, the team manager, was one really kind of pushing it to be like, we'd like to recognize you, but, you know, through other discussion, like, you're not going to be on the pro team. And
Right.
I'd known that and been fine with that, but it was still like, we appreciate all that you do. And,
Yeah.
you know, how can we show you that, but not like make it a sort of odd I don't know. I mean, you know, it's just something different.
It is different. I think it. I mean, again, amazing of Roces to be able to do something like that. And there are, I think there's definitely value in having a very streamlined, specific pro team. But that doesn't mean that the other riders shouldn't have signature products. You know, I think there's room for both, and especially with something like a Majestic 12 that, you know, it's not revolutionary. This is the same skate that's been out for, we were just talking, 30 some odd years.
Yeah.
But having it with a little bit of something, because you've got plenty of fans out there. Whether you're pro for Roces, whether you want to go pro for Roces, whether they want you to go pro for Roces, people consider you part of Roces. And I think having a skate that people can buy that has your name on it, that you skate, that is polka dotted liner, like, it's screaming Grant, and it's like people will buy that because they want to support you. I mean, that's the reason why I got these for the wall, because I can't think of a better skate to represent the Majestic 12 than Grant's Majestic 12, right?
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's been a process. It's
Yeah.
It's kind of like surreal and humbling, and just like, you know, I'm just starting to be able to see people have the skates. I got to come and actually give them to you in person.
Yeah.
I was at Oak City when, you know, the freight truck came with
So cool.
pallets of skates, and it's sort of still, even though I know it's real and can't, like, it's been real, it's sort of really sinking in a different way now. And, you know, talking about it and thinking about it in different circumstances, it's just like, this is just wild. Like, this is a thing. And, yeah, so I feel like I still don't have my thoughts fully collected on the feelings. Like, there's so much positivity that's been really amazing. And just talking to people about it and starting to see people actually have them to post setups, and having watched the team skate them already. So I'm like, I think it still ends up being a little more surreal than other things.
Yeah. I'll bet when you go to Blade Cup or when you go to Winter Clash or whatever, and you see people skating them, and not just one person posting it on Instagram, but you see people actually skating them, you're like, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
more than one person bought this skate.
Right, yeah.
Actually skate. Like, they have dozens of skates they could have chose, but they chose that they wanted to skate this skate.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, obviously a lot of people like M12, so there's
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of that, and it's a classic colorway, so there's that too. But yeah, I know there are a lot of people that like support me and like my skating and want to sort of just show that, and
Yeah.
that's like the humbling part, where it's like, you know, I just never really expected that. Like, I want to skate and do what I can with it and promote myself, and it's like, to have this thing is just like yeah,
It's got your name on it.
yeah,
It's got your polka dots. It's your skate.
yeah. So
It's amazing.
But yeah, the process was pretty interesting. Like the whole color choosing thing. You know, there were certain manufacturing constraints. Like,
Sure.
I mean, not real constraints, but like, we'll produce X number of sole plates in this color.
Sure.
And the initial sort of design numbers were like, okay, we're not going to make enough to do a custom sole plate. So you can have anything you want, but you need to have a black sole plate.
Okay.
So for
That makes
me,
sense.
yeah, I think that's
Like,
how,
from a numbers perspective.
yeah, they told me, you know, and I forgot what the numbers specific were, but it was just like, however many sole plates they had to make, it wasn't worth it. And then the sole plate is a different plastic, so trying to color match between the plastics was a whole nother thing. So like, if we're not going to make so many black, and then choose, you know, anything you want basically. And, you know, for me that was a little bit of like how to, like, that's too wide of a net. Like, I would want so many things, and then narrowing it down versus other skates that already existed. But I like keeping the boot and the plate to match.
Yeah.
Like, if, you know, you're supposed to choose what you really like the most.
It's a good look.
That's what I like. So, you know, I was like, okay, if the plate's going to be black, like, I'm going to do a black boot. And this kind of came through with, you know, around a couple other ideas we were hovering around. And I mean, I'm super happy with it. I think, like, I would generally, if I were to go buy a skate, I would probably buy a more classic thing like this. Like, I love the bobbies and the citrus and like the interesting colors we've gotten. I just, as someone who was going to go buy a skate, I think I would stay a little more conservative just because, like, I don't know, the really fancy ones get dirty really fast. And, like,
I think I remember seeing an Instagram post of you skating your bobbies and cleaning them. Like, there was a snap edit.
I
and
did.
Those things got trash.
they get dirty. So, and then you're just like, I don't know. So,
Yeah.
there's part of that, too, where it kind of depends on, like, I guess a white cuff gets dirty real fast, too.
I'm a black boot guy. I mean, I fall down too much to justify a white shell.
It was just, I think through stuff too much sometimes, so trying to choose all these pieces was just, like, a little much at times, but it was an interesting place to be, and, each part of being involved with Roces, like, learning a little bit more about industry stuff and just... why certain choices are made. It's like, sometimes from the outside, it's just like, that was a weird thing to do. Or, it's like, that's stupid. Why didn't you just do this? It's, just like any other sort of industry, there's these little things that aren't very apparent.
Sure.
And I can't think of any really good ones. I mean, I guess the sole plate color.
Yeah, sole plate color is great.
There's 3 different colors, or 3 different plastics to color match.
Yeah. You don't think about that.
So I also... The black boot is the recycled plastic instead of the cornstarch.
Oh, interesting. The sole plate is cornstarch?
The sole plate is recycled plastic as well.
Recycled plastic as well.
And then the cuff is the cornstarch plastic.
Got it.
But whether or not it's fully accurate, I don't know. I feel like the recycled plastic, to me, feels a little harder than the cornstarch.
Okay. Less flexy?
Yeah, I haven't really, I feel like no one's really confirmed that in practice. I've asked some people and stuff, and they're just like, I don't know, it feels pretty much the same to me. And I'm like, I think it feels harder.
Yeah.
According, Roces, it's like, it's not meant to be harder. The cornstarch and the recycled is the same plastic for the most part. I guess a fact to Valo versus M12s, all the M12s are slightly harder than the Valo V13s.
Oh, really?
That was like, I forgot how they described it, and I'm going to say it wrong. It wasn't like it's one step harder, but it's some measurable increment that you do with plastics.
Sure. That's interesting. Why is that, do you think? Just the style that John liked?
I remember lots of people complaining about the V13s being too soft. And I definitely remember a couple pairs of those where I felt like I've been skating the V13 since the first V13. And I almost felt like I could skate that because they were a little softer. Like I remember the older Roces being really hard, and that could just be timing,
Yeah.
And liners have changed and everything.
Different strength, I'm sure. Like you really notice hard boots on pumping around bowl corners or topside tricks or anything that really puts a lot of torque on it. And I'm sure you're stronger now, so you would notice
way better at skating in general.
Yeah.
Like perspective changed, but
super interesting.
From what I remember, I feel like they were soft. I do remember people talking about that because I believe, if you think about it, the skinned Valo, like the skin gives you extra structure.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you'd had the harder boot inside of the skin, like those would have been pretty
super hard, right? Oh, that's a good point.
So maybe it was strategic. I really have no idea, so don't quote me on anything.
I'm sure they tested it all. I mean,
I tried different pieces,
different materials too for the skins. Like sometimes they're different leathers.
Yeah. So the part of a little bit of the choice was, hey, if I'm going to keep it black, like I like that slightly harder boot. So if I notice it, cool. If nobody else notices it, like not a problem.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. Who cares?
So
I'm going to need to skate them now. So this is my size. Unfortunately, they don't make so this cuff is a 43. It does have neoprene. This is what I was talking about earlier with stock cuffs. This is a stock liner, not cuff. This is a stock liner. Like, it's really nice. It's got good padding up top. It's got a solid tongue. It's not going to dig into your toes like some other liners that I've mentioned a few times. It's got the neoprene toe. It's got the really nice materials on the side. Like, stock liner. It's crazy. They don't make a 44 in Grant Skate, so they only made the size 10, and then it jumps to size 11. Size
Which,
11.
for people to know that's good, the 10 shell is just a 10. It goes 4, 5, 6, 7,
Okay.
8, 9. 10 is its own shell.
Oh.
And then it goes 11, 12.
So is this the same shell as that V13? Where'd that go?
Another
one if you don't find it.
Yeah, I don't know where that went.
I think I just threw it over here.
Is that the 10?
It's supposed to be.
Yeah,
Looks
probably.
like the same shell.
Yeah, so like I always think that's just a really nice thing. I mean, I skate
Yeah.
the 8, 9, but there are a lot of people that are right in that middle ground. So having a dedicated 10 is a pretty nice feature. And the fact that 4, 5, I feel like the 4, 5 doesn't get a lot of airtime. Like
4, 5 is great.
that's a really nice size to have, because there aren't a lot of other, it's kind of kid skate size, so it's like Razor's Genesis Junior.
Or Transformers, but nobody wants to ride those. If you've got small feet, that's a kid skate.
Yeah, it's a solid skate. Like it's a really good choice for small feet, or you're growing kid that you want something a little more substantial. And I think that was introduced like during the Valo period, the V13. I think they added that lowest, the 4, 5.
That's smart.
And I mean, they go up to 15, I believe, 11, 12, 13, 14.
I think we've all seen the Valo with the Solomon frame.
Yeah.
14 or 15 Solomon with the tiny
the
Solomon
smallest frame
frame
ever.
The 230, 225. I don't know how big that is. What are you skating now? Are you? I mean, I know that you're injured.
Yeah.
I
I guess that's part of the whole thing with this being still a little. I'm like,
it's kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't predict injuries. How's that going?
Really, all things considered, really well.
Yeah.
It's been. And when did I get surgery? The end of August.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's been a while, and I'm doing PT and doing exercises every day and stretching and
all you can do.
Trying to be really conscientious about it. I think when I get back from here, I have a PT appointment that's sort of the getting ready for the back to running test.
Oh, wow.
Which I'm not sure that I'll be running. It's winter, and running outside where I might slip and mess myself up worse is not a good idea. Yeah. But it's a benchmark, and it'll be doing it's strength testing and mobility stuff. So I think it'll just be a confident boost of like, okay, you're specifically here and you've made this much progress. Like, I know how much progress. Like, I'm walking around without help right now.
Yeah, you didn't have a cane. You don't have a brace on.
Yeah, I mean, just because I wear a brace generally out in public, because if I trip or like, I don't know, it's some of the quick movements, like say you're walking through the store and somebody's walking at that just silly juke movement.
Yeah.
I don't know, that could knock me over. So I do the brace in public, but I don't need it to exist. It's just a risk mitigation kind of thing. Like,
makes sense.
That's where I'm at with most stuff right now. It's like, is it worth the possibility of hurting myself? Like I can walk comfortably, I can bend and all that kind of stuff, but it's going well. I think I should be doing some form of skating by spring.
Oh, that's great.
And I'll just kind of take it from there. I'm trying to not talk myself up too hard, because I'd like to not place expectations of I have to be here. Like, I'm gonna try to take it as it comes and enjoy the like rediscovery process, because this is already way more like the longest I've ever not skated. Like, I'd never stopped skating. Like, I've been skating since like 90, I don't know, 7 or 6 or 7 or 8. Like, so I never really stopped. I mean, sometimes winters were not great.
Sure.
But this is the longest period to not skate. So I think there'll be some rediscovery of simple things, and I'm just gonna. I think it'll be even more fun again in some respects, as long as I don't get caught up in the expectations of like, okay, I could do this 10 months ago or a year ago or something, and now I can't, because it's tough. I felt like I was the best I've ever been. Yeah. 10 minutes before I fell.
Even seconds before you fell.
Yeah, and that stuff was going pretty well.
I agree. I mean, I think your skating was. Been watching your progression, especially on Instagram. I think the way that you've kind of honed your image on Instagram and showing your falls and showing your progression and such, it's been really fun to watch, and I think we all want to get you back there, but no pressure.
I'm trying to stay involved and,
Yeah.
just be around still. So injuries are oddly isolating, and then, it's winter. I'm up in New York and winter's coming,
Yeah.
and you kind of get stuck in your head a little bit. So,
Sure.
but then on top of that, like having a skate, I'm like, I wanted to do this right, the way, regardless of what is, right. Like I know that skating is such a wide range of things, but in my mind, it's like, this is how I want to do this. And I had all sorts of travel plans, all that kind of stuff. And now I'm like sitting and sort of like, it's too bad, but it's still something amazing. And, if anything, to have something positive in this time of like, I don't know, change in my life. I was as much as, I don't know, I'd sort of say I'm not a pro or whatever, but like I was kind of living that.
Yeah.
I was traveling and going to competition and skating all the time, and to like turn that off at the same time the skate's coming out, and it's been interesting, but still.
You can't predict that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they support you regardless. I know.
Absolutely.
We all support you regardless. I think injuries are temporary. Nobody's going to remember in a year's time. You can be back to where you were.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll be back. Okay.
What do you? This is Gear Talk. So, what do you skate? What do you when you skate?
Okay.
What do you skate? Talk to us about your setup and how.
So I have.
You've
my
been on
setup.
V13s forever. So, were you consistently like? Did you ever stray from V13s since you started skating them? Maybe a few.
Yeah, briefly.
Little vacations, but
I tried solos very briefly, and I don't remember why.
that's fair.
Like V13, I think I went from like the first gray V13s and tried, like those were kind of trashed, and then I was like, I'm gonna try solos for a second, and I think I skated them for like 2 months, and they were fine, but I really didn't like, going from V13 to solo, like the huge wing, like I think of them as wide bodies, like used to be on Solomon's.
It's a very different ride.
That did not, I don't know, that just didn't translate well. I think they fit reasonably well. I thought they were interesting because at the time, like solos had the individual shell sizing, and I was like, that'd be cool to have the specific shell.
Absolutely.
Because we didn't have all the liner options back then, so like V13s weren't the most comfortable for me. So I think I was still a little bit on the search for like the perfect skate, and then that might have been the only thing I tried otherwise in that time. Because before that, I think before that I probably had skated every skate that ever was around. I skated Shadows for quite a while.
I can't imagine you on Shadows.
I think it was like 5 or 6 years of like
That's
the
crazy.
first, like the Solomon Shadow.
Yeah.
And even after those stopped, I like bought up parts and kept myself going with the same. I even skated the same setup for almost that entire time. I had like black cuffs with like the light gray soles and backslides.
Yeah.
And I just kept buying those up because, I don't know, I just decided those were the skates I liked. They amazing grinding skates.
Yeah.
Terrible skating skates.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't appreciate it at the time. I was skating
Yeah.
short Solomon frames anti-rocker. So I was not paying attention too much.
It was all the grind. Grind game was all that mattered.
But like, looking back with new perspective, it's like,
Yeah.
how did I skate from point A to point B in those and like not think about how bad it felt? Because your foot, even though you're locked in, your foot moved around in the wrap. And
Totally.
But I guess other setups for that time period kept going with V13s. I tried Valo Lights briefly.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because I thought the new shell sizing.
Yep.
I could size down and not have like the huge, because like an 8.9 Valo, or fifth, like the sole plate to me was still like too big compared to a M12.
Got it.
So I was like, okay, if I can size down with Valo Light,
6.7 or whatever.
I thought it would like be a fun change.
Yeah.
But it's just, they were just a little too short. Again, with like liner that existed at the time, I couldn't find something that made it like super comfortable. So
makes sense.
Back to V13s.
Liners are always that thing. Like you can find the shell, but then you got to find the liner that fits your foot, and it's like, well,
yeah, it's so cool to have so many options now. Like,
we've never had that many options.
I think when the Carbon 4s came out, and had that removable
Removable
liner that
liner,
was
yeah.
slim. It had a good tongue. Like that started to like, okay, at least for me, I ended up putting that in V13s
Oh,
and got a
nice.
fit from that. I was like, okay, I didn't think this
Yep.
was going to be almost perfect. So I think that kept those going. But in, I want to say 2015-ish, when like Leon was just starting to do wizard stuff and the frame was coming out and he had the Sebas, I tried those. Like I got into like with Mike Torres and Tim
With
Adams.
a full wizard setup, or
Yeah.
oh wow,
Because Mike was already on Big Wheel stuff and
Sure.
really exploring that stuff. And then I can't remember quite the time frame. I must have had them first. But we like planned a trip to Vancouver to like stay with Leon, like do like a wizard like pilgrimage
Yeah.
kind of thing. And so ended up like Mike kind of, let everybody try his stuff. And it was just like
sure,
all of a sudden Big Wheel stuff was starting to be acceptable
Yep.
and aggressive because we were always so separate, which was silly, but
Yep.
I get it. So that was like a different setup situation where I was like, I'm still using V13s as my grinding skates.
Yes, but you've changed your discipline, so you can think of it in a different mindset.
Yeah, I got the 100mm wizard frames,
Sure.
not even the 90s, which were the smaller ones.
What size is your foot? You're
An 8.
yeah.
And so I had the
but
smaller, I had the
low
size
8.
7 Sebas
Wow.
because those like and that was my first go at intuition liners.
Got it.
And I was pretty skeptical, and it was like, I want to say like Leon hooked it up at the time. Like I don't remember exactly, but I know part of the choice was he was like, dude, we got Torres into it. Like let's get all of you guys into it because before we'd did some no grinder blading stuff, and that was a thing Torres kind of pushed, and so lucky there, but that completely changed like the way I thought a skate was supposed to feel. Like I was skating any rocker up until then, and I still V13s, but the intuition liner. So I took the intuition liner out of the Sebas, and I was like, okay, I have this, and it's amazing and just perfect fit in the shelf for me. Like I skate a 6.7 intuition and an 8.9 M12.
Okay.
I end up stretching the toes out of the intuition a bit.
Got it.
First, I put like one of those like shoehorn things in it and just kind of heat it up.
Yeah.
They'll stretch on their own, but
It's easier that way.
yeah, why hurt my toes longer than I need to?
Doesn't make sense.
So yeah, there was that like as far as set like that was just okay. This is perfect for me.
Perfect.
So like kind of from that point, like I almost stopped thinking about different skates. Like I was just like, why?
You found it.
Yeah.
Done.
So
I'm clearly not done.
I think
I'm
it's still
looking.
interesting. I used to like I think that's part of it, but like to just shut my brain off and like I've always loved the backslide plate. Like I think it's one of the best, and I like the small sole. It lets you kind of like you can lean over on squarer things and not just like get kicked off.
Sure.
So I think that I just like the way that feels. I think they look good on my feet. Like I looking down at them. I think they
Look down is super important.
classic like slim skate.
Yep.
I like kind of the history. They've always had different good people on the teams, and then like Valo and everything. Like it's just sort of a cool thing. So
It's a great brand. Yeah. So liners. So you are on. Hold up the skate so that they can see because they can't see.
So this is my actual setup that I would skate if I could skate right now. The whole thing, the wizard thing too, I was skating any rocker up until trying those.
Yeah.
And
That makes so much more sense now.
yeah, so like I didn't start skating flat. Like I skate Celtic version 1 frames. And I got my first pair of those shortly after getting the wizard set up. Because I went from wizard back to any rocker, and I felt like I was stuck on the ground.
Yeah, that's train tracks.
I
stuck
couldn't
on the ground,
believe it.
yeah.
Like, I'm like, I've been skating this same setup for like most of my skate life, and now it feels wrong. And I was like, I wish I didn't know. Like, I spent a little time telling people, like, talking about wizard stuff. I'm like, be really careful. Like, if you aren't really interested, like, maybe don't. Like if it's something you think is going to be cool and really fun, like, yeah, go for it. But if you're just like, I don't know, it seems like whatever, I'm like, you're going to potentially ruin some of aggressive skating for yourself.
Absolutely.
Unless you can adapt. And I like to think that I adapted for, like, I mean, I had to do this.
Yeah, so so you got different wheels, you've got different profiles.
So I skate flat now, and I think it's been 5 years or so.
Okay.
I got Wizard.
No any rocker ever again?
I don't think every once in a while I think about it.
Yeah. Just cause.
I still get stuck on alley-oop soles, like the groove foot on alley-oop soles. Every once in a while, the back wheel on back royales.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a few, mostly it's alley-oop sole and part of it's just because the Celtic groove is so deep.
It's a deep groove, yeah.
It's
the way it is, yeah.
It's fine. I'm used to it now, and it's a happy medium for me. Like,
yeah, the benefit is great.
Yeah, like the wheel protection. I almost didn't skip a beat when I switched to them, and I tried a couple other. I tried Create.
Yep.
I think maybe were Symmetrics out back then?
Maybe.
I tried a couple things, and I just was sticking all over the place, and I was like, this is scary.
Yeah.
And I don't want that. And then I tried these, and I really didn't have to think about it very much. And I think the deep groove works well with the narrowness of the skate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
because the Royale is closer to the boot. So with a deep groove, the angle that you have to get boot down isn't as steep as if you're skating a wish frame or if you were skating Symmetrics where it has a taller groove.
And also, like, it works on the M12 because, like, say you had this deep groove on a fifth, you're not actually going to be able to get very far over.
No, because none of the angles work.
It sort of defeats the purpose.
Exactly.
You end up, like, sticking anyway because you get standing this far over, and So
interesting.
Slightly happy accidents, but also taking a little bit of time to really think about how it worked and what felt good. And some of it's just like you talk about, kind of, you only have so much time to skate sometimes. Yeah. And is it really worth forcing yourself to relearn something uncomfortable? Or, so these things do such a good job.
Yeah.
The only negative with the size of them, sometimes stair bashing is a little harder. You really have to keep
rub on the
like if you don't keep your heel down and like go straight, you can't really stair bash down as well. Makes sense. It's possible, but if it's a thing you don't think about much,
totally.
I've gotten stuck on stairs
because it's plastic. This area is not going to spin.
Yeah, and every once in a while a wheel gets stuck or a rock gets stuck in there.
Oh yeah, because it's so tight. The tolerance is so tight.
Yeah.
So there's a 60s on the inside.
Yes.
58s on the outside.
Correct. So
you have a 1 mil rocker, or is it flat, or is there a rocker?
There's a rock. Yeah, it's 1 mil on each side. Like
okay.
It ends up. Well, you guys can't see the table, so I'm not going to do it.
But it's going to be flat.
These don't hit.
Those don't hit.
I got a millimeter difference here.
We have the ruler. So if there.
So.
Got it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that also came from Wizard.
Yeah, Wizards
skating, because Wizards have this is the lowest, and it's more of a check mark.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'm not going to measure wheels out and try to make that happen here. But even after that, regular flat felt a little, I'm not going to say sticky, maybe a tiny bit muddy after Wizard frames.
Sure.
And at that time was doing a lot of the Wizard stuff, because it helped me reappreciate rolling.
Yeah.
And kind of all the things you can do between tricks, or
totally
things that weren't even maybe tricks that you would think of because you didn't think you could roll it.
Yep.
Or whatever. So it in turn took my aggressive skating somewhere else, where I'm appreciating some of the rolly bits, or a bump in the street that you wouldn't have even thought to try to launch before. Where you're just okay, I can pop this, and
I can't do that in any rocker. It just sucks skating. I mean, this is a good all-around skating setup.
Yeah, right? It's stuff, and I think if you went back to any rocker from something like this or Wizards, you could adapt it. It's just again this makes it easier. You can do anything in any setup. People are skilled enough
still,
but timing, all this is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to enjoy what we're doing, and I want to go out and just do it, not
Think about it.
gripe about it.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
so out of all those things, just finding the happy mediums, and the 60 mils in the middle are actually really, like, the Roces wheels are hard. They're 93.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually Long and I just did
the Durham.
Durham. Yeah, we did a bunch of wheels, and they were the closest to their actual hardness.
It's hard to stay consistent with
I think
durometers, but yeah.
These that were 92s, we got 91.5 on a couple of them. So I was like, okay, they actually feel hard.
Yeah.
And then the outside are 58, 88.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, I just like having a little softer because you do end up on two wheels.
Sure.
Obviously not by a margin that you're going to slip out or something.
Yeah.
But just skate park, hard wheel. If all of these were hard, like
Yeah.
peace of mind.
Yeah. Wood ramps. I mean, you need something that's going to
I don't need the hardness on the outside either. This gives me like this tiny
there's no
little
point.
bit of like, okay, if I miss, I'm going to have a little wiggle room.
Totally.
Plus, I really like the profile.
Yeah. I mean, it's the old face profile, the flat bullet, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I don't.
Definitely an amazing. That's what our 58s are. It's a really great.
Yeah, you get a
great
little
ride.
extra.
Yeah.
Like a little extra room on your top sides because the
Yep.
wall is angled. It's like it's nice to have. And I had a box of the face wheels. Long and I were also talking about that. I got one of the 300 whatever.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, for like $70 on
Yeah.
eBay. And I think I had and I skated them any rocker.
Of course you
So
did.
they didn't last very long.
No. They were
But-
85A too, weren't
Yeah.
they? Yeah.
But
That's
I'm
crazy.
light and kind of small, so like it worked out. But I went through them a lot. But I used that box for like 7 years.
Oh my
Like,
god.
it lasted way longer than I would have expected.
It's a good investment.
But so part of why I really like these wheels is because
Yeah, you're used to them.
I skated them consistently for like 7 years.
So funny.
So it's just cool that they exist again.
So liner.
Liner, yeah.
It is polka dot liner, but that's not
This is not
the same as
stock
my
liner.
polka dot liner.
I have been talking about intuition liners.
Yes.
So I skate the 6.7 version 1s. These are
Uh-huh.
actually my last pair.
Oh,
I
wow.
have because they're not easy to find, the V1s anymore.
Okay.
And the current pair I was skating when I got hurt, I've been skating for like 3 years. So they're pretty much done.
Impressive.
And in my mind, I knew this was coming. I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
it's time
It's
to
time.
pull my new liners out.
Yeah.
Like, this is the perfect opportunity.
I can't think of a better skate to put them in.
Yeah, so I skate like no shock absorber, no insoles.
Mhm.
I usually only lace up the top two just to get that little extra forward resistance.
Yep.
And then also just to hold the tongue in place.
Got it.
But they were just laced like this. Oh, no, I did this. Never mind.
In the V2, what's the difference between V1 and V2?
Okay. So V1 is just, it's hard to see. The V2 has a different toe shape.
Okay.
It's a little wider, but also the toe is separate foam.
Okay.
Like, you can see the.
Yeah, I see it's
there's
a different foam.
Seam.
Yeah.
The V2 comes out further on both sides with like this different foam is bigger on the V2 and it's slightly thicker. So it's the idea is that it gives you a little more room if you need it because you can pack it out.
Mm-hmm.
But if like you don't, it's more padding. So if you're like smacking into the end of your liner or your boot, like I think that was like kind of the rough idea. So it's just bigger. And then you're not gonna be able to see it, but like the V1 is just the inside is all the same width.
Okay.
Like all the foam is the same. The V2 has those like J-bar pad things to hold the back of your ankle.
Okay. Yeah,
like,
sure.
Kind of around your Achilles.
Yeah. Okay.
So that has those on each side.
Got it.
So there's that little extra bit of padding.
Huh.
The eyelets are bigger.
And you prefer this because it just fits your foot better?
Yeah, I've tried the V2s and this just feels better on my foot. The back ankle thing seemed like too.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't feel bad. This just felt better.
Necessary, I guess.
So
what are your thoughts on the new what's the
really
intuition?
fancy one?
Yeah.
The premium?
Premium, yeah, whatever it's called.
I don't know. I haven't.
You haven't looked at them yet.
All
You've been so
I
busy
saw-
shipping skates all day. You haven't,
Right.
you haven't seen any pictures.
I did see pictures.
Okay.
I just didn't know. Like, it looked like a V2 to me.
Okay.
It's just black, like, because I also didn't really like the gold. on the V2.
Yeah, so there's no color on this except for the polka dots.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, I guess there's the sizing label, but
Yeah. Whatever. So the polka dots.
yeah,
I mean, the V1s and V2s have the cuff wrap.
yeah,
The premiums have the cuff wrap.
they do.
The them liners don't.
Correct.
Have cuff wraps. It's like sewn on.
Or the FRs. I think they're
Yes.
also the same.
So I mean, they come with 2 cuff wraps when
Okay.
you get them. They come with a gold one and a black one, and as far as I understand, the black one is a little stiffer.
Okay.
Like when you can tell when you like the gold one is just foam.
Okay.
And I mean, I took it apart. The gold one's just foam. I didn't take the black one apart, but the black one feels like there might be plastic in it. So
This is the black one.
this is actually just the Velcro,
Okay.
which I realized after I did it. I was like, why didn't I just buy Velcro and cut it to this shape?
It's too late
I
now.
took it all of like it took half the time just to disassemble
Yeah.
the existing cuff wrap, and in my mind somehow I was like, this is proprietary Velcro. I can't get
Yeah.
which
Probably
so,
not. Probably go to Joanne Fabric and
Yeah, I should have done a little work. But now I have these that I made because I had to have those. I couldn't have
Yeah.
my skate not like look like it's supposed to.
Yeah. I mean, this is what the skate should look like. So
So Rosie's
you need the
knowing-
red pole now in the back.
I know. I was thinking like I know they'd send me one, but I was like, what? Like you can't really sew onto the intuitions
Yeah.
well because like you'd have to sew all the way through.
Totally.
And I was like, I don't want to put a line of stitching in there. I mean, I could sew it to this.
Eh.
This is just on the
Well,
fly.
yeah.
That's a pretty good
It's-
idea.
yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
so Rosie's knowing that I skate intuitions and being just I don't know, they're just accommodating and they
Mhm.
generally kind of like do your thing and we support you. So they actually sent me the fabric material that they use to make the liners. They sent me like 2 sheets of it.
It's so cool.
And it's actually a surprisingly thick, like you can actually see, you see how thick it is?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
It's a little rubbery, it's got a little resistance to it. So
Yeah.
they
So you just cut it out and made your own?
yeah, I cut it out and made my cuff wraps. And I think it came out really well. I think I kind of wish I'd used the black ones because these are softer than I'm used to.
Okay.
But it's a brand new liner, so maybe I won't notice.
Yeah, yeah.
And I will not have had skates on my feet for almost...
You won't notice anything.
Who knows how long?
It
it's
will
all
have been a
gonna
year. I
feel
mean,
new.
it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Like, it could be anything at that point.
Yeah, seriously.
So,
Amazing. Very cool. I love that Rosie's did that because it's one thing for a company to stand behind you. It's another to stand behind you even if you're skating a different liner. I
Yes.
mean, I love the RL1. I'm sure you skated the RL1 and you
I
prefer
did.
this.
Yeah, like I was going to say, especially that, like knowing that they produce a premium liner and they are, supportive of, they're just like, I think it comes across, they want us to skate the way we like. They want the team
Yep.
to be happy. Like, so why try to force the
Yeah,
issue?
don't force it. You're just going to make angry skaters who don't want to stick around or don't want to skate the skates.
They sent test sets of RL1s out. I think I got 2 different versions and
Mm-hmm.
I liked them.
Mhm.
I just like these better.
You can't say nothing bad about that.
I think for me they were actually a little stiff. They have the I don't know what kind of material, the kind of rubbery stuff.
Yeah.
Right here at the top,
Where I put mine. Yes.
and it hits on the cuff in an odd
Oh,
place
that's
for
fair.
me,
Yeah.
especially after having skated intuitions that are so tall.
Yeah.
My lean over point is so much higher.
Yep.
And going to a liner that is lower, thicker in the cuff, like it just
Digs a little bit.
it was
Makes
again
sense.
that idea of you were saying like I didn't want to have to relearn stuff and I didn't want to be
Yeah.
uncomfortable, and I skated it and tried it and like gave some input and they are I don't know just it was a cool process to get to be some little part of, and there are lots of people that really like them, so like that's cool. I just
I like mine. I have nothing wrong to say about them. I think they're great liners, but I can totally get behind people skating what they skate because that's what they like. Everybody's foot is different. That's what's so amazing about this is there are options now. Like you were saying before, you could skate your whatever shells you were skating, and if you didn't have the right liner in there, didn't
Yeah,
matter.
it just
Like,
didn't feel right.
you got to find the right combination that fits your style. And the Cultic frames, I'm sure you skated a ton of different frames over the years.
Nope.
Nope, you just skated Cultics all the
No,
time.
I've skated or the small Solomon
Well,
frames.
not flat, I guess.
Oh,
right?
yeah. A couple. I've tried a couple, but this is it.
It's awesome. If you have any questions, we're going to be around for a little bit, so please tag Back to Blading, and I would love to answer your questions, especially if you have questions for Grant, anything specific about his setup or anything else. I will fly up and see if there are any questions. I apologize earlier. We did have a bit of a computer malfunction. My fan was turned on in here, and I turned it off, but I didn't plug in the computer, so it wasn't charging. But now...
You could have just blamed it on me.
It is all Grant's fault.
I'm
Grant
the only...
came over, he tripped on something, and he unplugged it from the wall.
The only change in the equation.
Yeah. Okay, a couple questions. I'm unable to scroll all the way up, but I do have a couple questions for Grant. If you have questions now, please ask your questions now. Tag Back to Blading so that we can see them. To Grant, what did you like about the carbon fiber shell Volos, and will Roces be bringing back carbon fiber skates anytime soon? This is from Zingy.
Honestly, I didn't like anything about them.
That's
I mean, I liked the idea that you could potentially downsize. They give you extra room, in the same size sole plate, but I kind of don't necessarily like carbon fiber in aggressive skates. I think we need the way tricks are and the way we move, like you need a little slop in your foot placement. And for me, where the carbon met the cuff, because the cuff plastic was so much softer, I ended up having the carbon dig into my ankle doing top sides and stuff. And, I'm sure there are different ways to do it carbon fiber wise, but I just don't really see, I think plastic does it good enough. And, if we had more shell sizes of different skates, we wouldn't be looking for maybe slimmer, different materials to use.
Mm-hmm.
I get that it's light, but at the end of the day, the ounce difference, I don't know that's going to, like, in the long run, make the difference that sometimes people feel like it does. Like, I get it. It's nice to feel a light skate and be like, this is cool and I can move quick. But if you had a really good fitting skate that is on your foot well and sort of responds well, it's also going to feel lighter than something that doesn't quite fit.
Sure. This is a light skate. So we've got the scale. This is the Majestic 12 Grant Hazelton edition.
Oh, I don't know what they weigh.
Let's see how much they weigh, because we do geeky stuff.
Oh, also, I don't believe that there are any plans to bring a carbon fiber Roces back. There's been no talk of it that I've been involved in. It doesn't mean, that people aren't talking about it, but generally they include the team in stuff. So
I think if you want it, there's a reason to talk to Roces Social and say that you want it.
I think they'd have to bring a skin back. Like, there'd be a lot
there's
to
a lot
do to have a new shell like that.
All right, so boot only, the Grant Roces M12 is 1202 grams. I have these USD carbon skates. These are the USD carbon teams from 2018. 1202 is the number that we were at.
Interesting.
This is 1173. So we're talking about 30 grams difference between these two skates. And I'll add that these cheat because they are a flat boot. They don't have unnecessary plastic inside this sole plate like this has.
True.
So it could be even lighter if it was a flat sole. But any chance the Roces is going to be a flat sole boot? Probably not.
I don't know.
Probably not. They're all about the raised heel. They've always been about the raised heel.
I personally have no problem with a raised heel.
It's a people like different things.
Yep. I still think anything fit is the thing. Like,
Fit is definitely the thing.
if you can find the skate that fits your foot better, like flat, raised, like whatever, you're
Doesn't
going to
matter.
have a better time. And I know it's hard because we don't have that many skate shops that have everything you can just
This is
walk
the
in and
problem.
try. But, I don't know, try your friend's skates. Measure your foot. Get used to measuring your foot. I know, long try is really hard to ask for measurements if people aren't sure. And I think that's something that people don't always, I don't know, like think to do or know how to do, just that helps
they
shops.
consider it shoes.
And do it in centimeters.
You've
Don't
been
do it
buying
in
shoes
inches.
for so long. How long is your foot? Well, it's a size 11. All right. Or it's a size 8. All right. Like, that doesn't tell me anything. Like, I need to know millimeters. Because a Nike is different than a Reebok. It's different than a dress shoe, than whatever. Sizing doesn't matter. Give us the number in centimeters. Give that number to your skate shop. They'll be able to help you because centimeter is always a centimeter. And skates are really good at listing the length of their boots in centimeters, length of their liners. The boot then becomes the problem, and that's where we ran into intuition, trying to downsize and find the right shell with the right liner.
And I guess also the intuition-wise, I skate the 6'7" in the 8'9" M12 because, next size up 8'9", which, like you were talking about, now that they're individual intuitions, that could change how this is.
Could really help.
But this is already a relatively tall situation. You skate the 8'9", you're like up here. The shape of the liner is different.
Totally.
So, you can already see like my liner in the toe area. The 8'9" is like pushing up here.
Oh, wow.
So even though it's a bigger liner, more room for your foot, for me it ended up being worse. Like there were more pressure points because the liner was actually like impeding itself in the shell.
Got it.
So the stretched out 6'7" is way more comfortable.
That's so crazy.
It
totally makes sense.
Was lucky enough to try.
Yeah.
Have them to try out.
I wonder if you try the 7 in the new premium Intuition, if you would have a similar experience without the break-in. I think that will be nice to try.
Long had them when I was here. But.
Yeah, I think they're pre-order. I don't know when they actually ship, but they'll probably be here soon. You'll have to come back. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Great question, Zingy. Thank you. Greg. Hey, Greg. Grant is by far the best promoter for Roces. Not a question.
Thank you.
But I agree wholeheartedly. And for Caltic, I'll add. I love watching Grant skate, and he makes the frames look good. He makes the skates look good. And he's always out there skating them. And he cleans them after they get dirty. So it's definitely something that you need. All right. Now we're back to something a little bit more recent. The Squilly experience. I've asked this in the chat, but it's probably buried. What kind of liner would you recommend for an M12? Excellent question. Really just depends on your foot.
So if you really like, I think for me, the stock liners aren't the most comfortable. I have like little like bone spurs on the side of my foot, like kind of right where the Royale groove is. And the Roces liners I feel like are pretty thin on the sides. And so it's not super comfortable. And then again, like I'm so used to the high liner that, having all the padding low just doesn't feel great to me anymore. But if you like the stock Roces liners at all, like if they fit your foot decently and maybe they're just not padded enough or you need a tiny bit more room kind of thing, like the RL1 would be a really great choice. Like, if it's not really a problem with the way the liner fits and you just need, I don't know, you want something nicer, you want a little more comfort. It's shaped like a stock liner. It just has thinner, denser padding.
I know where I put them.
I haven't seen them
I know
recently.
they're here.
But yeah, the padding's denser and thinner. There's a little more support. You've got the heel lock lacing thing. So I think it's a good option because you can compare, how well the stock liner fits your foot. But, personally, I like the Intuition just because the Intuition fits my foot shape better. And I like the high cuff with the extra option of more support higher up. I feel like it's almost like a lever, you get a little extra from a higher point.
Yep.
So you can push harder, whether or not you could actually measure that.
That totally makes sense. And it could be a mental thing as well, like just having that little touch that's comfort that you're used to.
Yeah,
this rubbing in this specific spot.
That's a part of it too. And it'll sound really silly, but it also is nice because it fits my pants. Like the highness of the liner, the way that it's shaped.
Pants are important.
The size of my pants, it goes right over the liner. It sits there pretty well, and it actually provides a little bit, it holds the top together. I can feel like if I'm doing a trick and my pants come up and it comes off of the liner and the liner kind of, I can feel it. I'm like, oh, what happened?
That's the worst feeling.
So, even if you have random reasons like that, that skating is so mental, I think you got to give like weight to those scenarios. But it really, like, I hate to say it, like, liners are really preference unless you have a very specific, like, sort of foot issue. Like if an M12 is too narrow for you, you'll want something skinny like a RL1 or an Intuition. But, other way around, like if it's too narrow somehow in the cuff, like you might want like one of those MyFits that has a thicker cuff area. So, hard to say without knowing specific like issues.
It's always difficult. I think measuring your foot, super important. Make sure that you get the shell that fits your foot right, and then find the liner that fits. Plenty of good options like Intuition, RL1, even the stock Roces liner would be good options. Just call a skate shop. I think make a good relationship with your local skate shop, your favorite skate shop. Find a favorite skate shop, and tell them all your measurements. They're experts at it. They know, they have things on hand. They can look and they can send it to you, and then try it on.
Yeah, that's a good point. And like be be gracious about it. Like it goes a long way to help the skate shop owners or people working there like know that you know the deal. Like skate shops are really busy right now, and generally, there aren't a lot of people working at most skate shops. So their time's important. They always want to get you. You talk to anybody that works at a skate shop, or owns a skate shop, they want you guys to have the stuff that works the best for you.
Oh yeah.
They just don't always have time to talk through something that long. So I guess the more accommodating you can be trying to have those conversations, I think the better help you'll get. And, all those people are people too, and they'll go above and beyond for people who go above and beyond for them.
Absolutely.
And, packing skates for 2 days.
Let's talk to you a little bit about
quite
customer demand.
Education and how things are going.
It can be busy, and I'll say that people who run skate shops don't get paid a lot. It's more of a passion that they have, and they want to help you skate. And, they want a return customer. They don't want to just sell you once. They want to sell you for life.
Yeah.
So it's important to them that you find the right thing. So definitely call your local skate shop, get a local skate shop, and become friends with them. Great question. Keep on blading. Funny how Back to Blading, famous for riding anti all the time, is being told how great flat is. Yes, that's the story of my life. I deal with it. I think Grad's young, and
not that young.
He doesn't know things. No, he's a much better skater than me. I think if you wanted to skate. The reason why I skate anti-rocker is I don't want to get stuck and fall down and hurt myself. When I go out and skate, I have a very limited amount of time to skate, and I want to know that I have full confidence that when I jump on a ledge, I'm going to grind. That's it. I have skated flat. I do like skating flat. However, I don't like skating ledges flat, and I love skating ledges. That's like the thing that I love to do. Now, there might be other frames out there that I can try. Contractually obligated to skate 50-50.
You can make some Celtic. Wait, no, I'm not going to say that out loud. I'm probably not supposed to.
Not going to. No, I do hear Justin's walls are really nice, so I might try Justin's T60Rs, I think they're called. They look really good. I do miss skating flat, and especially I think Joey mentioned it, maybe with Todd, how skating flat, the little adjustments that you make when you're skating up to a ledge or you're skating something, when you're skating flat, you just do it. When you're skating anti-rocker, it does put a little bit of a toll on your knee because you don't get the carve. You can't really carve skating anti-rocker as well. You have to kind of pick up the feeling. You pick up your toes a little bit. You kind of go on your heels a little bit. That's how you kind of turn. With anti-rocker, you just kind of lean and you can swerve.
Yeah, it's like a little clunkier.
I miss that. I got to be honest, I miss that. Maybe I'll skate. Who is this? Keep on blading. If you used your real name, I'd skate flat. No, I'll skate flat. How about this? I'll set up a this is what I'm going to do, just for you. I don't know where my skates went.
Pick something with a small slope.
I'm going to skate these again.
You should skate my skates flat.
I could
Something with
skate
a
your-
smaller. Well,
That would be pretty awesome. Actually.
I think the smaller sole plate makes it a little easier because you
Yeah,
can lean over
I'll get lower.
further.
Yeah. I do need to skate these. Maybe I'll skate these this weekend.
But I don't
Let
want
me
you
know
to
in the
hurt
comments.
yourself. I want you to have fun.
It'll be
so-
fun. I have fun skating. Skating is fun. But when I go out and skate grinding ledges, I want to skate. You know what? I'm going to skate these. I'm going to skate these this weekend. I'm going to skate these with maybe RL1s because they fit my feet properly. I don't know that this smaller liner will fit my feet properly, but the RL1 probably will fit in the size 10, no problem. I'm going to put the prime frames on. I will skate them flat 58s, which I know that I can skate. I skate really well with flat 58s. These aren't fresh prime frames, so they're a little broken in from anti-rocker, but I don't skate much street. Only a little bit of a wear here. Not a big deal. I'm going to skate flat 58 just for you and for Grant. And I'll post it on the Instagram and I'll post it on the YouTube, and you'll see how much fun skating flat can be.
You can just do a bunch of swivelly things.
I'll skate, no grind session. All right, Ben. Hey, Ben. Thanks for joining. Did Grant have any requests for a lock of his hair for that person to try to absorb some of his superpowers? Somebody asked for a lock of your hair?
Not that I know of.
Uh-oh.
I mean, I apparently maybe, but
I hope not.
Not to my face.
For somebody to absorb some of your superpowers? I don't know.
Like Samson.
Yes, Samson.
Except then, do I lose some?
I guess, yeah, you lose all your superpowers.
I mean, I don't need them right now.
That's true. It'll grow back. You'll be fine. Don't cut your hair, but it'll grow back. Thanks, Ben. Thanks for being silly. Jonathan Hayes. Grant, what's your favorite hair product, and why is it Paul Mitchell?
Just keep trying to get that Paul Mitchell sponsorship back in rollerblading.
Yeah, we need corn nuts and Paul Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yoo-hoo.
I should try a little harder, I think, maybe.
That would be funny, yeah.
But I guess for sake of maybe that ever happening, I'm not going to... I'll pretend that's the only hair products I use.
Not say no.
Yeah.
I don't use any hair products, John. I just use bar soap on my hair. I don't have any hair to wash, so...
I don't use a lot of products, so...
Just Paul Mitchell.
Yeah, just Paul Mitchell. Only ever my entire life.
Yeah.
If you're listening.
Keep on blading. I know you like flat heels with shock absorber. Have you tried footprint insoles and raised heel skates? Have I done that? No. I've never tried FP insoles. I was always
I forgot.
hesitant because I didn't want to support a skateboard company, to be completely honest. I wanted to skate rollerblade companies as much as possible, and FP is a skateboard brand, so I didn't skate it.
Well,
not to say that I won't,
Since you brought up...
but I might. Grant has something, though.
Well, just since you brought up
Yes.
shock absorbers or insoles in a raised heel,
Yes.
I forgot that I skate Fifth Element insoles
Oh,
underneath my liners.
interesting. Underneath the liner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no insole in the liner because the Intuitions, it's the same, roughly the same padding all the way around.
Mhm.
So on the bottom, you've still got, I don't know, whatever this measurement of padding is.
Same amount of padding.
So I didn't really want an extra
No
piece on
need.
the inside. And I have pretty flat feet, so I don't need the arch support.
Uh-huh.
But so, yeah, the Fifth Element insole it's just got a little more sort of structure.
Mm.
Like there's a kind of molded in plastic piece and a little bit of a shock absorber.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Yeah,
a lot,
It's enough.
but just that little extra.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've tried other gel heel pads and stuff, and it's too much.
Yeah.
You really feel like you're raised at that point.
Yeah.
and
Especially
puts-
on a raised heel boot to begin with, it starts feeling like you're falling.
It actually
over.
feels slow.
Yeah, like
because
you're
you
digging
end
your
up-
toes in.
Yeah,
kinda,
exactly. So this combination,
Told you.
it's a real thing, yeah, for sure. Oh, that was something good about RL1s that I noticed the difference. They have a hard base. It's like
They're in the the 909s. If you want to bring those down, if you can reach them.
don't drop it on my head.
Yeah, lift up and then there you go.
So yeah, the base of it
Yes.
is harder. It's not super hard, but it's also thin.
Yes.
Oh, these are different than my test ones.
They're not harder. They're different.
Well, they're harder than the Intuitions.
They're harder than the Intuitions.
So, I think it still is the same principle. You're closer to the
Yes.
hardness of the boot, but in my test pairs, I noticed that like I actually felt like I was skating faster
Oh, really?
versus these
Huh.
with I had a slightly thicker footbed under it at the time, and I changed to this, and it felt more like what I thought the
Interesting.
difference in the RL, because I did, like you said, I felt like my toes were digging in, but I
Yeah.
never thought about it before. I'd been
Yep.
skating the same setup for so long, like the RL ones were just different, and I was like, why does this feel different? I actually felt like I was rolling faster.
Mm-hmm.
It was a sort of an interesting problem briefly, because I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
intuitions ever going to feel right again? Like, so this was my solution, and I think it works well. I get a little extra padding
Yeah.
for gap stuff. I mean, I'm not a huge gap skater because that's how I tore my ACL.
That's
Apparently.
It's,
I don't know if
fool me once.
except yeah.
Never again.
I thought I was really good at, like, I was like, I could do these now.
And it's the landing that you have a problem with. The
Well, I
gapping is
landed.
no problem.
I
You
landed
did
just
land,
fine,
that's for
but
sure.
apparently it was the standing back up part that didn't work.
Yeah. Just stay down next time.
No, I landed, and then I hit a little tiny crack or something, and as I was coming
Oh,
back up
man.
from the crouch, like my leg just went in. So it was weird. It was a freak thing. It wasn't like skating is dangerous all the time.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I would have rather known that I was falling the whole time. You know,
Yes.
like messed up on the jump
Right.
and been like flailing in the air, like, okay, I know I'm
Prepared
gonna
for it.
land
Yeah,
90.
yeah.
Everything was perfect until that, like, looking back, I believe there was a crack there that I didn't really think mattered. And it was
Yes.
just, out of all the random circumstance, it was that, 2 millimeters difference of where my foot was. And maybe I was tired. Who knows?
Anything could have happened.
Anyway, continue.
Insoles. Yes.
FP.
FP sounds great. I do need to get a pair. People ask me about them all the time. I think having a flat insole that doesn't adjust your lean is important, and I think that FP does a pretty good job with that.
Are those the ones that have also, like, different styles?
Yes.
There's like a line of like...
There's like 3 different levels of FPs, and then there's like custom ones with prints and
Oh, yeah, okay.
stuff like
I know what
that.
you're
They're
talking
very, very silly. But they were skateboarders, so I was just
about.
like,
I mean, Superfeet were... I don't know
Hockey,
if they
right?
are super popular again, but I remember when Intuitions were getting popular, the Superfeet insoles were like you got to get these for your Intuitions, and it was like one of these like, oh my god, lots of people talking about it, like, this is, it's just incredible.
Yep.
So I get, Superfeet seems like a reasonable
Superfeet,
choice.
I think the yellows is what people usually recommend.
Yes, that's what I remember. I tried them on in skates, but I never bought any because I felt like I didn't need it.
Yeah,
So
little tweaks. Good question. Insoles are very interesting. We need to do more information on that. Grant and Law, Dolphin Uppercut Avenger asks, Grant and Law, most emotional moment in Blade history? I'll let Grant answer that because you guys all know my random stuff. What was your most emotional moment, aside from holding your skate for the first time?
yeah, I mean, I think that would have to. I mean, you said aside from that, but I don't really know. I don't know how to qualify that question.
Yeah.
Like for me, or like in blading. Like I feel like when, like the whole Valo ending announcement thing was pretty, emotional in a way. Like
You were all Valo. You were
Yeah.
Team Valo. Yeah.
I was pretty. I mean, I like the skates. I was the branding was cool.
Yeah.
Julio does a really good job with, that kind of he's an incredible brand manager, and
Totally.
that was a cool thing to.
Stabs you in the heart.
So yeah, having that announcement without it was kind of out of nowhere in a way.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, looking back, it's okay, that was emotional, but it led to 2 really cool. I wouldn't have a place in.
Very.
I wouldn't have
point.
this place that I do if Valo was still continuing. There's
Yes.
just too much history and too many other personalities and things. So I kind of recognize that that, that created an opportunity for me that I didn't know existed, and also moved on to have what them is so.
Yeah.
I guess it's a good emotional moment because it
yeah.
that timing was weird and uncomfortable for everybody, and it was kind of confusing, and
Yes.
then out of it came like a lot of cool
Two
stuff.
amazing projects. Yeah,
So
I totally agree with that.
without thinking too much harder about it, I'll just say that. Like I'm sure there was some, like stuff when I was young and like
Landed your first handrail or whatever. That's
like
I did it.
skate trip things. Like there's so
Yeah,
many
yeah.
memories, but as far as maybe industry stuff goes, outside of having a skate with my name on it,
It's a pretty emotional thing. I don't know if you saw the back, but this is great.
I have a matching tattoo now. It's
Oh,
still healing though.
No way.
And nobody will be able to see it on camera. It's white.
That's all you need.
But
Great question. Keep on blading. My real name is Surya, which you should know from the normal community challenges. Thank you, Surya, for joining us tonight. Great questions. Keep skating and keep being part of the blading community. It's great to see you. The Squilly experience. Do you have a flat frame you can recommend too? I got a business card from Caltic, so maybe I'll hit them up. Caltic's great. Probably one of the first frames to have the wheel bite protection the way that they did. And, obviously Grant's a great skater and still skates the V1. So I think they did a really good job with that first Caltic frame. The only negative that I heard about Caltic is the sizing. That if you are a big-footed skater, you have a problem finding a V1 in your size.
So V1 has two sizes, and it's, small, large, medium, large, whatever it is,
Right.
The smalls are very small.
Okay.
I skate a large. Like,
Okay.
this is a large on an 8.9. Like, the large is basically the size of every other brand's, like, medium,
Got
small.
it. Yeah. It's like 260 probably.
Yeah, it's a little bigger than, a small in other brands, but, like,
Yes.
this is the biggest V1 on an 8.9. So,
Got it.
perfect for me, which is great.
Yeah, and it probably looks on a 910 or a 10 boot.
It probably would.
But these are also very svelte boots.
So
using
the
svelte.
V2 is, if you're interested in the Caltic frames, the V2 is much longer. Like the small V2 is a little longer than the large V1.
Oh, interesting.
And then the large V1 is like, so if you're, got a really big foot, a large V2 is a
Really
long
large.
frame, and
Got
then they
it.
have rock ring options on it. The H block on the V2, I wish I could get a V1 with a V2 H block.
Mm.
The V2 H block is really nice.
So the length of the V1 is what you like.
And just the simplicity, the
Got it.
V, I don't need the rock
Has
ring
the rock
stuff.
ring, right? Yeah.
I don't need the, it's not flat across here. Like the V2 kind of has a little, wavy bit.
Yep.
And I like S-sliding.
Yep.
And when I was trying those, I'd be, stuck just on the tip, or
Got it.
it was getting in here somewhere. Like, there wasn't, the flat surface. And it was just odd.
That doesn't make sense.
And so that was another one of those, why, if there's something that works really well for me, why force myself to change it?
Yeah.
But again, yeah, if I could have V1 with a V2,
That's killer.
that would be a really nice thing.
I always recommend Wish. I think Wish is a great brand. Again, Cletus is a rollerblader who skater-owned company who just wants to make cool stuff. So the Wish frame is really good if you have big feet. The original Wish, very long. It's a split system, 72 mils on the outside, 60 mil on the inside. Provides a really nice groove in the inside that you really don't get any wheel bite whatsoever. Then the medium Wish, slightly smaller at 259, I think, or
279. They have two
sizes. Yeah, they fit 65s on the outside, 60s on the inside, or 58s on the inside.
I only know because I just put one together.
Great options as well. So those are probably the two that I would recommend: Caltic or Wish. Both very similar wheel bitey protection sort of things.
A new one that's pretty, the Kaiser 5s.
Yeah, the Fluid 5s.
Very interesting. It's a more classic small groove.
Yep.
It's on the Mesmer skate.
It's on the Mesmer skate.
But I think as far as flat recommendations, I'd also think about the width. Like if you are skating a very wide skate, a taller frame like the Wish frame or something, it's going to feel more normal. But if you're skating an M12 and you're going to put a Wish frame on it, you're going to have a much steeper Royale angle.
Very good point.
So, when you have the steeper Royale angle, it's more work,
Yep.
it's more stress on your joints, and you don't have a choice about getting lower. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think, take into account the width of your skate and the depth of the groove when you're thinking about flat frames. And I don't know how to like finish that.
That's a very good point. There's a lot of things to consider. If you're just thinking of skating flat, plenty of good options out there. Figure out what boot you want. That should dictate the depth of your groove and your ability. You know, you want a deeper groove if you're, you know, not super great at doing boot down royales because it's going to be hard on your knees. Got to get really low.
But you only want a deeper groove if your sole plate's not too. I mean,
exactly.
I don't want to like
a lot of things to think about.
It,
yeah, that's what this show's all about. Overcomplicating.
I mean, the
things.
GC, the flat.
The ground control flat FLT fours are pretty great. I haven't seen a lot of people skate them.
I haven't either, but the H block looks interesting. It does look pretty low.
Yeah.
As far as like it sticks down a bit, which is good for wheel protection.
Yep.
But
flat 60. Don't have to worry about mixing and matching wheels or profiles. You can get all the same wheel profile from 1 to 4.
And I think, too, just to keep in mind, if you're trying flat, like, a lot of it's mental. Like, you'll be able to do your tricks, but when you go at it, being concerned that you're going to stick, you know, you kind of make it more likely that you're going to stick. You kind of potentially aim for it. You're, like, hyper aware. And if you just focus and like skate, you know, like move with purpose and get your feet in the right place, like I think like you end up being better at it than you think you are if you're scared of it. And you know, that idea where it's like you just have to try, and if you try 100% instead of 80, like chances are you're gonna land it. And the time you only kind of half tried, it's like you're just hoping it works out. And
yes. Yeah.
Because even if you stick, if you say you're doing a royale, if you stick a little bit and your feet are really in the right place, you can push through it.
Yeah, embrace the stick, embrace the bite.
Yeah, like just keep in mind, like there is a way to learn to skate flat safely. Like if you're, you know, leaning into it forward, kind of like hesitant about getting your feet down, like you'll stick and fall forward. But you know, just push down, push in, like
push through that. Yeah.
I don't know, use extra wax.
Extra wax. Breaking in your wheels also helps. You know, that first layer of wheel, when it gets out of the mold, they've got that shiny layer. You know what it looks like when wheels start wearing a little bit. As soon as you get that wheel wore down a little bit and you get that shiny layer off, it'll slide a lot better. Great questions. Yeah, flat frames are definitely, it's kind of like expert mode. I love Andy Rocker. I definitely going to be skating flat too, this weekend. So. Yeah, you gotta skate everything.
But you and also
try flat.
You could flat with small wheels, like you know.
Flat with small wheels.
There is a middle ground where you don't have to worry as much. If even do 56 flat on sort of a regular frame, as long as it's got a decent H block. Like
even the Roces frames, flat 56. That's a great flat.
Like
flat
don't
frame.
Try to skate Featherlights flat, even with 56.
Even if they come stock.
Yes.
With flat 60s.
Don't do it.
Bad.
So other frames though, like a Create with 56 is great. Like so there are options with smaller wheel sizes. You don't have to go big wheel to skate flat.
Agreed. Great question. Al Delega says, all this hair talk is very triggering.
You have a better beard than me, Al. So.
Agreed. Great seeing you, Al. Thanks for tuning in. All right, couple more, and then we're going to wrap up. Mr. Darren 25. Last question. Speaking of the Wish frames, how would you compare the largest to the mushroom blading frames? Also, do you still have those frames lying around? I do have those mushroom blading frames lying around. They were called the Big Blocks. They were designed for the K2 skate that never came out. They are 65 flat, but they have the K2 rocker, so you can do it in 8 different directions, hexagon, so 8 different directions. It's 6 different directions, not an octagon. It is not for me. So the problem with those frames was that they were super long and they were super tall. In order to get the depth that they wanted and the width that they wanted for that big H block in the middle, they just took the 65 and they just dropped it and they said, UFS, who cares? I don't care about this bolt. I'm just going to put my wheels so high up that I can move them around and not worry about the UFS bolt. That meant that they were a lot taller than they needed to be, and it was a lot longer than I liked it. You can skate them with a rocker, and I do have a video up where I was skating those mushroom blading frames. I think it's a really great concept. I think it needs a few more revisions before it's ready. I don't know how many they shipped, maybe 100 or so. I was very fortunate they sent me a pair. I know they sold out in like an hour, so it was a crazy project. The last thing that they did with K2, I think. But definitely, if you can find them, they're worth a try. I skated them with 60s, and I really enjoyed it. 65s just felt a little big for me. Again, downsizing your wheels a little bit. You don't have to skate.
Didn't you
the
scrape your
maximum side.
H-block on the ground?
I did not on the 60s because I had the 60s rockered down.
Oh, okay.
So I had it rockered because it was so long.
So
Rocker the 60s down and then the 60s up.
I never skated those. I've been around people who have. Torres and Kraft.
Oh, Torres has them? Yeah.
I don't think he has them anymore, but he had a period. And he was skating them on solos with the big How does he have adapts then? At first, though, because at least it went up higher in the boot, and the solo plate stuck down, so it was a little better.
Yeah.
But the only thing, whether I may not be 100% right, because I didn't skate them, but a frame like that or a Wish where you have the middle wheels that have moved out, you end up not getting the same flow feel of flat.
Absolutely.
Flat, because you have, you're skating flat like a setup like I have. Your wheels are all closer together. And with a big frame with a big H-block, you've got two wheels further out. So you don't get the same pivot point.
Yeah, it's very similar to the Aeon frame. People will say, I'm one included, that this is more like an anti-rocker frame feeling than it is a flat frame feeling. And the reason is these wheels are so far apart that the pivot point in the middle is 220 millimeters apart. I don't know how wide this is, but it's very wide. That makes this less of a balanced wheels. Like if you look at...
I'm just wondering if I'm putting my foot in my mouth.
No, I mean, I don't think it's that wide.
It's not that wide, but it's still pretty wide.
Still pretty wide. You're also skating with a rocker.
That's true. But that's probably part of why I did that.
Why you did that, yeah.
And I didn't think about it till now.
It's a very interesting question. I'm a big proponent of skating all different sorts of frames. I think the mushroom blading frames were great. It was an amazing experiment. I am a big proponent of getting the Wish frames. I think they're the best flat frame out there. You see a lot of them out there. That's what I skate if I skate flat. And the reason is that technically they're not flat. You can get a slight rocker, and it addresses that long frame feeling. Another great question. All right, y'all. I think we are good. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Obviously, thank Grant for coming by, dropping off these amazing skates for me. It has been a pleasure having a guest on the show. I hope that we can do this more often. Hope everybody out there gets to skate this weekend. It's getting cold out there, I know, but the best way to stay mentally awake and excited about life is to put some wheels on your feet and go out there and skate.
Agreed.
Where are you off to next? So you're heading back home. You got deliveries to do on the way. Where can people find you? Is Instagram still the best place?
Yeah, Instagram's the best place. I'll be pretty low-key for a little bit, but, trying to promote my skate the way I can while I've been injured. And, I've got a couple hand deliveries I'm making along the way just because it was really, really nice to be able to bring them to you. Yeah. And, I guess just kind of laying low a little bit, doing all my physical therapy.
It's amazing. And congratulations on the skate. If you are in the market for a new pair of skates, this is not a sponsored video, but obviously...
Feel free to reach out to me. I can tell you all the nice things I think about M12s.
Yeah, if you have questions about
them
M12s,
or not,
he's a nice guy. He doesn't, just come by because I have a show. He came by before, and he didn't even want to be on the show. He's just a nice guy. So text him on the Instagram if you've got questions.
I'm happy to try to help. I can't, figure everything out, but
exactly.
I have my opinions.
He's got more time on his hands right now.
That's true,
so
yeah.
You can definitely more.
Help pass my time.
If you're interested in Caltic as well, or intuition liners, picking out the right intuition liner, these are the sort of things that I don't have a lot of experience in. He'd be more than happy to help you out. So just find him on the Instagram. Make sure you follow if you don't already. Thank you for tuning in. Hope everybody is safe out there. Don't forget Helmet Initiative. If you go to backtobleeding.com/helmet, we'll be giving away a helmet for this episode, picking somebody at random. Make sure that you wear your helmet when you go out and skate. It is silly not to wear a helmet. If you don't have a helmet and you can't afford a helmet, please let us know. We would love to help. We'll be giving away one helmet in random to somebody who's watching this show. Hope everybody's safe. Hope everybody is doing good. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks.